Good evening. Call this meeting to order. This is our city council meeting, regular meeting on Tuesday, October 24th, 6 p.m. We're in the Public Works building. We're going to stand for our invocation and pledge allegiance.
Father, we thank you for this day again. Thank you for this great city. We ask you today for guidance. We ask you for Holy Spirit's presence to be here, that we would be attentive to your voice. And everything we say and do, Lord, would be pleasing to you. We would honor you. We thank you again for all your blessings, and we look to you, Lord, the author and finisher of our faith in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Andy, can you call the roll, please?
Mayor Miller,
Here.
Mr. Smith,
Here.
Ms. Hamilton,
Here.
Mr. Welly,
Here.
Mr. Wolf.
Here.
I'm going to motion to move our mayor's comments to the end of the agenda so we can get straight into our business. First on is our consent agenda. We have minutes from September 21st, September 25th, September 26th, and October 10th. Do I have a motion to approve these minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve all the minutes.
I'll second.
All right. All in favor, say aye. Any nays? All right. We'll move to our regular agenda. This is Atkins update. Ryan?
Hey everybody, good evening. Just came to give a normal update. Chris asked me to jump up on some project stuff. So one thing on our side that I wanted to kind of throw out, it's pretty cool, is we've been, over the last couple of weeks, I've been spending a lot of time moving projects towards closeout on the PA side of things. We finally got our very first project closed out all the way, which is exciting. Our lift station project from back in the day. So that's a big step, beginning of the end kind of thing there. We have to obviously, I think I talked about a couple meetings back, how we have to go through this final closeout phase where we get a new FEMA reviewer in. They look at everything from start to finish fresh on the project, and when we close out a project, that means now FEMA's like, all right, everything's good, everything's squared away. So we got the first one closed out, and then I've also been working hard to get all the other projects. There's a bunch of boxes you have to check and things along the way. So we've got 14 other projects into closeout phase, which is really good as well. So just in context, we have about 50 public assistance projects in total from the whole disaster. So we're roughly around a third, just short of a third of them are now in the closeout phase. So I was happy about that. It's like the most boring part of all of the disaster recovery process, but a necessary one. So only people like me that are nerdy get excited about that. On some of our big projects, on the Jetties project, we've been working back and forth with kind of coordinating between FEMA and our consultant MRD that's under Dewberry contract to get this environmental assessment document done. We're very close to finalizing that. We have a meeting scheduled for next week where MRD is going to sit down with the FEMA EHP, that's the environmental staff, and basically walk them through. They've had a couple of submittals of draft versions, and then FEMA came back with comments, and hopefully, we're hoping this is the last one. We're down to some kind of pretty minor comments on it now. So MRD is hoping to finish that up this week and then talk to FEMA EHP next week. And then hopefully that project will get to move along from environmental. On police fire, that project has been in FEMA CRC review for a while. That's the engineering branch of FEMA. I have been asking for an update, and are supposed to be getting one tomorrow on that, basically to kind of give FEMA's been reviewing our package for a couple months now, and they're gonna give us their feedback on it essentially at some point here, and we're gonna find out about that tomorrow. And then last on the pier, we had a meeting last week, I think it was, where we talked through the scope changes that we had to do related to the environmental questions, that FEMA had basically sent the project back. They had to send it back to the engineering team. So that modified scope of work, we had a little bit of a breakthrough, but it's not the full one yet, that FEMA's agreed verbally with that scope of work. They basically, we sat down with everybody and they said, that's, okay, we see what you're doing there, that makes sense. But we do have to get a written agreement on that, and we're hoping, they said they needed to take that back to the final look through on all of the design documents. But we're hoping that's positive news and that we're gonna see some sort of movement on that as well. In other non-public assistance related projects, we did have a good, I know last meeting that I was here, which was I think a month ago, we had the regional stormwater design award on. So that, because you guys passed that, we did get that awarded to Avcon. So they're going to move forward with the design. We had a kickoff meeting with them maybe 2 weeks ago, I think. So they're going to basically, we kind of sat down with them. It was a very good meeting. We talked them through, what the FEMA regulations kind of are. They were pretty familiar with it. They know the city has a match and that they're going to be cognizant of that as they put their task orders together, in terms of what their task order cost is going to be and all of that. So hopefully in the next coming weeks they'll have that developed, and then they'll probably be before you guys to present that task order at some point here in the next couple weeks once they've pulled it all together. And then that'll be up for you guys to approve or deny or whatever. Overall, we're very close to hitting 93 million on payouts from FEMA, and I just submitted another package, a couple packages on a couple of different projects for reimbursement requests that are close to another million. That'll be several weeks down the road for getting an actual reimbursement on, but gotta submit the docs to get the reimbursement. So that's my update, and you guys have any questions?
Describe this closeout process a little bit for everybody. That's, you and I have talked about it, and you've told me about it, and what can happen and what should happen.
Yeah, so the closeout process, as I kind of alluded to already, is when we submit for reimbursement, I just mentioned, we put in reimbursement packages for like around $1 million just recently. That reimbursement request is actually going to the state, and they're the ones who pay it out because they're the entity that we have a direct link to. So the state will do all of their, what they call validation on all of the documents that we submit. So if we have a project like a lift station, right, they're going to see that we did they're going to check all the scope of work, see that it aligns with the scope of work that they wrote up on the front end or that FEMA wrote up on the front end of the project, see that the payments were made, that they match invoices, all that kind of stuff. So the state has done that whole thing on kind of the front end to get us the payout. I shouldn't say on the front end. I should say they do that first and make the payout. They're on the front end of FEMA though, so once they've made all their payouts, essentially FEMA's coming in on what's called closeout, and they're going through this exact same process with their team. And it's a separate team than is like helping us build the projects out on the front end, and they do that just because they're trying to make sure that we have fresh eyes on something now that we've gotten through the project, and that things that got kind of laid out at the front end are matching on the back end. So I would just call it kind of like a financial review on FEMA's side, and they're making sure that we didn't do something that was outside of the scope of work of the project as it was laid out by FEMA from the very start. So I like to think of closeout as the bookend. The front end is trying to get the project obligated by FEMA, and the closeout is the bookend to that, where they're saying, okay, you're looking good.
So once it's closed out, then we're good on that. So if the closeout is not 100%, let's just say they find a bad invoice or something didn't match on the front end to the back end, then we might have to pay that back, or
it's possible, yeah. So I would say, you're never done until you're done, right?
Exactly.
Closeout's the
I just wanna
final,
make
final
that.
stage. A lot of times what ends up happening in closeout is that, FEMA will, because they're not familiar with these documents, will get questions through the closeout process and get, requests for information. And most of the time, I'd say like 90–95% of the time, it's like, we're just like, oh, it's this document, it's buried 1,000 pages down on page 1,112. But it certainly can happen that sometimes, FDEM may have paid us out on something, usually like a small amount, and there's like a math error or something that FDEM didn't calculate it right, and, there might be, I would say, you almost never go through a closeout where you don't have like at least some small little error that somebody mixed something
And that's
up.
why they-
But that's part of the
check.
natural process, and that's why we go through it. But
Even though it's probably a good percentage of them, because they're projects and the money is already up front.
Yeah.
If you're looking at $5 million, I mean, normally the high percentage of those, I think, are probably all under, aren't they?
oh yeah, and even when we're talking about those kinds of like small errors, it'll be like $100 on a $10 million project or something like that. So you're talking about like 0.010 of a percentage of the entirety of the project, and a lot of times, you'll even see them too, where it's like, there'll be an error on the high side or something where you guys didn't even like pay out that amount, and then people just be like, oh, yeah, it was a mistake. We just have to right the wrongs in the accounting. So, I mean, that's why the process is set up the way it is too. That we're doing our checks, then the state does their checks, and then FEMA does their checks. And normally, once you get through that many checks, by the time you get to the last one, you're talking about very small changes.
And I
overall.
think that's why we have Atkins come in and help us
Yeah.
with these
Yeah.
things. So.
And the other thing I always say to people is like, when you really think about it, I've said this previously to you guys too, so I'll probably be repetitive, but, some of these sets of documentation that we're having to submit are literally like tens of thousands of pages long, and so, somebody has to look through all this, and if you think somebody's not gonna have a $5 error here or $10 error there,
Exactly. Yep. Well, I'm glad we closed our first.
Yeah, it's exciting,
That's
I'm happy
exciting.
about it.
So. Yep. All right. Anything else for Ron?
I have one, and I don't know if you're the right guy to ask, but fire and police.
Yeah.
At what point are we at the point we can do something with that building? I know we're holding a standard to our residents to fix their buildings, but it's a little tough when our building looks like that. So at what point can we tear it down, do something, know we're moving?
Yeah, I would say part of the reason that you wouldn't want to at this point is because we're still trying to develop the scope on the new project. And, I think from like a pure like legal perspective, you guys obviously own it and you could do it at any time. But from the FEMA side of things, like as we're still costing it out, like it's not a great look.
There's still a risk that we won't be approved to move.
Yeah, and there's always, like I always also think of it as like it's a bit of a bad look to like tear it down, and then if you were to build something there especially, like that's just kind of like, we're trying to relocate things out of the floodplain. So it's more of like a recommendation not to do it until we get squared away with the new police fire, so. Yeah. All right, thanks.
Thank you. Exciting news, first closeout. All right, so let's move to number 2 on the regular agenda, Salt Creek Phase 1, a replat. Carlos?
Good evening, everyone. This is an application for a replat of Salt Creek Phase 1 that was previously submitted as the Town Village Townhomes Phase 1. It includes 42 townhome units. It's previously received plat approval, preliminary plat, development order, and final plat approval. What they're doing now is they're coming back and asking to move the lot lines of a few of their properties included in that development. There's no substantial change. They're decreasing their impervious surface by a little bit, but other than that, there's no change in what they'll need for the development or the residential, like the number of residential lots. Chris with Dewberry is here if y'all have any questions with him. But this item was reviewed by planning floodplain and engineering and recommended for approval. And then it went before planning and zoning and was also recommended for approval. I can answer any questions you have.
You said decreasing impervious, right?
Yes,
Does this have to do with the new builder coming in? Is that what that?
it does.
So they're building smaller homes or larger homes or what?
I believe that's where I would take
That's
over.
where Chris comes in.
Good evening, everybody. Chris Short with Dewberry. So the lot frontages are shrinking, but it's on the order of the interior lots were 21.17 feet before, and now they're around, not around, they are around 20 feet. So it's a 1.17 foot difference in the interior lots. On the block of townhomes, the exterior lots are going to be 25 feet wide, and then they're creating HOA common green space area between the blocks of townhomes.
Are
So
they
it's just-
reducing the square footage of the home, I'm asking?
Yes, so, yeah,
Okay.
that winds up being a reduction, and that's where the reduction of the overall impervious area for that phase comes in.
You're also reducing the area in the utility easement.
So where you see that?
Yellow out there.
The 5-foot utility easement that's outside the right-of-way, that's what you're referring to?
Yeah. Is that getting reduced also?
No,
Staying the same?
it's staying the same. That's a standard, it's 5 foot outside of the right-of-way that's dedicated to the city. That's where your, communications, all the private utilities will be run,
Okay.
have been run, in this case.
Any other questions from the table before we go to public comment? Discussion on the replat? All right, closing public discussion. Any discussion at the table? Okay, can we entertain a motion for Salt Creek Phase 1 replat?
I'll make a motion to approve the Salt Creek Phase 1 replat.
Second?
Tammy, call the roll.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Welly?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes. Next item on the agenda. Paula, you can stand there for a minute because we've got things going on here. Okay, next is the development order for 142nd Street. There's a fourplex.
Yes, Scaling Back LLC is proposing to construct one 4-unit multifamily structure to be located at 142nd Street on about 0.28 acres. Each unit is proposed to be about 5,500 square feet, including the porches located on 0.03 acres each. This application and analysis only reviews the construction, it's a development order application for the residential structure. The building department has received an application for those boat slips and docks. However, they needed to submit additional information before that decision comes before you. So all we're talking about today is the structure itself. This item was recommended by Planning and Zoning Board for approval with the conditions that are listed below that. Planning recommends approval with the following conditions: that EPCI enforces the contractor's pervious pavers selection to confirm those calculations prior to installation, and that the applicant will create a condo association for the development and supply those documents prior to the issuance of the development order. I'd like to clarify about the impervious surface and those pervious pavers. They meet the calculations, whether they get that calculation for, I'm not really sure how pervious pavers work, but if they are determined to be pervious or if they are determined to not be pervious, they meet that requirement either way. If that makes sense. I can answer any specific questions you have about the development. Lance is here with the developer if y'all have any questions for him.
All right, so open public discussion. Anybody have any Yes, ma'am.
Lisa Logan, Maryland Boulevard. I am not opposing the building of the condos on there. I am, however, opposing the size of these condominiums. I published some information on it today. You're looking at 22,000 square feet on that lot. Y'all will remember the top of the Gulf restaurant was there. 22,000 square feet, 5,500 square feet for each of the 4 units. We have approximately 300 condominium units in the town in 10 different condo developments. The largest one of those is approximately 2,500 square feet, and they go down from there. These are double the size, parking for 16 cars. And I just want to remind you that that lot has been deserted and with no traffic of any kind on that corner for the past 24 years. There's been nothing on that corner. The building was there, but no traffic, no cars, right there. So I think that the size of this is way too large for that. It's way larger than anything in the immediate neighborhood, and I have provided that information as well. So I think you ought to consider the fact that this needs to be more in keeping with the rest of the sizes of the houses and the townhouses immediately adjacent to it or in the immediate area and the other condominiums in town, and I think that this should be cut in half. 2,500 square foot per unit for 4 units. I think with the changes that have happened in that location in the 24 years when there's been no traffic on that particular lot, the sight line, the bridge, the boat ramp road at the top, and then you add all these other cars to it, I think you're looking at a very big safety issue there. So please consider that.
Yes.
Lance Watson, Southeastern Consulting Engineers. I just wanted to make a couple of points to the size. The lot is tourist commercial, and the allowable impervious area in tourist commercial is 80%, and they're proposing 47.8%, so just over half of the allowable coverage, lot coverage. And it meets the 32-foot maximum building height, and the density availability on this parcel is 5 units, and they're proposing 4, so they're well below the land development code limitations.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay. We'll close the public discussion, come to discussion at the table.
I kind of agree with Lisa, that is a lot on that corner. It seems like such a little tight piece of property, and that's going to be a lot of cars shooting in and out of there as well. I would be concerned about that. I think it's too much on that little piece of property. Even though it's meeting all the approvals of everything, that's an awful lot of cars that will be coming in and out right there on the highway, and how's that going to interfere with the people further down the street? I would be very concerned if I lived on that street to see that development coming.
They passed everything, didn't call it? Lance, didn't they pass everything?
I just have a curious question of, I don't know why P&Z are, just trying to learn why we're requiring the condo association. Is that to ensure they maintain the seawall in the dock? Or why is that a requirement that we're requiring? That could they not do a party wall agreement?
They could do that organization. I'm not familiar with condo docs or that sort of land association. But it's just to ensure that they are selling the structure above the land instead of creating lots, which would have required them to go through the preliminary plat process and had direct access to 42nd Street.
That was the key. It's not 4 separate lots. It's going to remain one lot and they're selling your space. Got it. That's
I
perfect.
was it's the same thing, yeah. He's good, okay. All right, well, we'll close the discussion, we'll entertain a motion for the development order for 142nd Street.
I make a motion for approval on the development order at 142nd Street.
Second.
Okay, oh, roll.
Mayor Miller,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes, we want to.
Mr. Wolf,
Yes.
Mr. Wiley,
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton,
No,
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Okay, we're item 4, ordinance 819, public notice, first reading. Carly?
Yes, we have the first reading of proposed revisions and new language to the Land Development Code regarding notification process. We approached this at the direction of council to revise section 7.08.01 regarding property owner notification. In doing so, we determined that there was a need, there needed to be a notification process for both types of hearing, that's legislative and quasi-judicial. For organization purposes, we found this information best suited in Article 1. When looking at public notice, it's important to consider the hearing process standards in order to determine the types of notice that are required. A legislative decision affects residents citywide, whereas a quasi-judicial decision is site-specific. The proposed language suggests information on decision-making procedures for legislative and quasi-judicial hearings, including the actions, hearing procedures, and notification requirements and hearing standards. This item was recommended by Planning and Zoning Board for approval with the following recommendations that I made at that meeting, and that was to revise the date in section 1.10.00 to the exact date of LDC adoption, and to revise section 1.12.03.d.1 and section 1.12.05.d.1 in accordance with Florida statute. I have that language if you'd like it. It's removing the portion about newspaper requirements. That's not something the Florida statute requires any longer. We can post on Bay notification, the website. I can go over anything specifically. It's a long one, so let's take our time.
So is this related to notifications such as, like if something's happening for a variance, let's say? The notification of the people nearby?
So a variance would be a quasi-judicial action.
Okay.
For that variance, the city would be required to notify that on the website, the Bay County notification website. They would be required to mail. This is, of course, with this as a recommendation. We can revise anything. This is just as we have it written. A notice would be mailed to everyone within a 300-foot radius at least 10 days before the public hearing. And then at least 10 days, but no more than 14 days before the public hearing, a sign would be posted on the site. That would be the notification.
So is that standard of 300 feet? Is that standard for the Florida statutes or?
I'd say that's pretty standard. We looked at it at P&Z to see kind of what the difference between a 300-foot radius and like say a 500-foot radius was. And just using the example of 142nd Street because we just discussed it, 300 feet would notify 58 property owners and 500 feet would notify 144. So,
Wow.
Right.
It's a big difference.
It is a big difference.
Do we want a big difference? Okay.
I think our goal here is to notify the people that are most closely impacted by the decision happening on that piece of property.
Okay.
No, I think with our Canal Parkway variance hearing, the word abutting is difficult, and I think that got a lot of confusion created, that notifying abutting And we had a bunch of people stand up and say, nobody told me. Well, we don't have to because you're not abutting. So I applaud this, that this is gonna provide for more notification to more people.
I think that's okay. Okay, so, any other questions for Carly? Okay, do we have a motion to read the ordinance? Yes, I'm sorry. We usually read the motion and read the note,
You want me to wait?
the ordinance. Can you just wait 1 second, then I'll open it to the public? Okay,
I'll make a motion to read ordinance 819 by title only.
thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Tammy, call the roll.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mr. Welly?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes. Okay.
Ordinance 819, an ordinance of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, amending the Land Development Code to modify Article 1, create Section 1.12.00, and modify Article 7 to establish a process for notification and hearing procedures, providing for codification, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Miss Lisa, open to the public discussion.
This is a question for Carly.
Okay.
You said that mail notice is 300 feet radius and 10 days before the public, 10 days before the public hearing. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. We had this problem before we changed this, and we talked about this in P&Z. If we stick to the certified mail process, 10 days is not enough to get our slow mail to the out-of-town property owners if they're to be notified. So P&Z suggested we do FedEx, or I forgot what else they suggested, overnight to guarantee it, but you need to guarantee that these notices get to out-of-town people, and 10 days is not enough by certified mail to get it to them and let them make time to either come into town or give you their response. So you need to watch that.
Anyone else? Okay. I'll close the public and we'll come to discussion at the table. Any discussion? You're okay with the 10 days?
Well, on that topic, I don't want to pay FedEx fees, but I do agree that 10 days might not be enough. And if we know 30 days in advance, can't we go to 20?
So this is the minimum that would be required. We could send out the mailings earlier when we had that application completed.
Because we know it's coming 30 days prior to our first hearing. We already know it's coming.
Could we change?
Sometimes, we know that the reviews, I'd say the review usually takes about a month itself. And sometimes that review process can come close to a meeting date. That would have to be, we'd have to know it's going on the agenda at least 10 days before. I'd say 11 to make the
15
mail.
days for
days.
snail mail, I mean,
Right.
I think would be fun, 15 days.
15 days, could we think about changing that to a 15 day?
I'm good with that.
I kind of like 20, just because, you know, if people travel and they're not home and they don't check the mail or whatever. I mean,
What was
We
that?
know in 30.
20 days.
I was thinking 20, thinking, you know, if somebody doesn't get their mail for one reason or another, medical reasons, travel, you know, give them the benefit of the doubt so that they can know about it.
Would that be difficult on the staff side? I mean,
Yeah, they're worried about the front side.
Yeah, because if we got 30 days in advance, then we know, well, 15 gives you 15 days to kind of get all the paperwork together, get everything, yeah.
I think what it does is it makes the application take a little bit longer to process through the city. And that's something the city can require, but it will be something that the applicant takes on. Their paperwork's gonna take a little longer to get through.
So,
Tammy, does that fall on your job description? Are you going to be part of that? What are your
Julie
thoughts on
and I
that?
do, we just want to make sure that they're not pushed for, you know, the P&Z meeting. That it's not pushed off to next month, because I know the developers want, you know, they want it, they don't want to have to keep pushing it back.
Right.
So that's the main thing, is getting them out, you know, quickly, so it will not be pushed back another month for the developer, so.
So,
Yeah, that's true. I mean, because we do have a schedule as to, like, when we have to have the paperwork into, submitted to the city. And then that gives Carly time to be able to, Carly and Alara, time to be able to do what they need to do. That gives us time to get it out for planning and zoning. You know, get the notifications, the signs up, that kind of thing, before it then has to go to council. So if we push it out too far, then you're looking at developers having to wait 2 months before they can get something through planning and zoning and through council. Because we're trying not to anymore do planning and zoning and council meetings or approvals back to back. So like if you had a meeting on Tuesday, or if planning and zoning had a meeting yesterday, we wouldn't put it on today's meeting. We would allow extra time so that you guys would have time to be able to take into consideration what planning and zoning's recommendations are to you. So if we have to kick that back a little bit further, it just lengthens the process.
So tell us your opinions on 10 days versus 15 versus 20. What's for getting the notices out before the meeting?
We try to have them out by, I mean, I know we're on a 10-day cycle. I mean, I have them, we take them out to the mailbox the morning. Probably we're more at like the 12 or 11 days as it is now.
And the 100 feet, of course, the 300 feet is going to be more certified
Yes.
mail. And that's, you know, we do electronic certification now, but we still have to manually fill out the certification information. So that's just going to be, you know, just takes a little bit more time, you know, more.
Because what we were doing before was we were doing 100 feet. So we weren't doing abutting properties, we were doing 100 feet. So if you go from 100 to 300, you're basically tripling, you know, the amount of space.
I think this is a good point. If we're concerned about the burden that falls on staff, this is something that some cities and counties place on the applicant. And that's an option. Currently, it's written for the city to do both the mailings and the sign postings, but that could be something that you require of the applicant. So we would notify the applicant that their application is being heard at this meeting, and they would be responsible for mailing those out, proving that to the city, usually through certified mail, and posting their own sign.
And that way, if they miss the deadline, it's their problem, not ours.
Julie's like, yes, sir.
I just had a couple of thoughts on this,
Okay.
just from working with other municipalities.
Yes.
One, like you said, doing it where you have more than the 10 days could mean 2 months for developers, but also the P and Z is usually almost 21 days from the council meeting. So you have 10 days plus 21 days-ish, let's just say 20 days, so 30 days notice before the council meeting. That's from when you guys send it out. But one thing to maybe take into consideration, Carly mentioned, like in Gulf County, and again, the 300 feet is a little excessive compared to other places. Like, for example, Gulf County is abutting properties. If it touches the property, they get notice. But I understand letting more people around the area know. But in Gulf County, you have to, we submit, if we're submitting a variance, we submit the receipts from the certified mail with our submittal. So they're getting, if we need to get in by the 6th or the 7th to get reviewed from the city and get on the following month's agenda, then that's way more than the 10 days. So doing something like that would give far more notice than the 10 days that the city's doing right now, and taking the burden off the city, and other municipalities do that. So it accomplishes getting the notices out sooner, it accomplishes less work on the city staff, and it accomplishes the developers not having to wait an additional month to get before the planning, zoning, and the council.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Lance. I mean, in saying that, you know, if you're sending out the certified mail, you know, 10, 12 days before planning and zoning, then you still have that additional time before it actually comes before council, where you're going to have a decision that's made on it, where planning and zoning is the recommendation.
I was just advising Carly about having the option of putting that burden on to the applicant. Also, you know, it varies across Northwest Florida. Primarily, the city or the county does it, but there are communities that require the developer to do it, and you have a timestamp on the photo to make sure the sign's placed in the right amount of time before the meeting, and then provide the certified receipts to the city or county so that they can be checked to make sure they meet the requirement of the timing. Right now, you have in your fee schedule that whatever the cost is can be billed back to the applicant. So if the city does it, then that can still be billed back. But this would then put fully the burden on the applicant, the labor and the cost.
And if they miss their deadline, they can FedEx it to make it on time with their product.
And it lists the cost from our city employees too.
It's there.
The hours. What's the process to do that? I mean, do we have to send out a letter to the developer? What's the process to do that?
Well, we would revise the language accordingly, and then at the adoption hearing, it would be an ordinance that you adopt, so it would become effective at the time of.
Before we have to turn around, have a second reading, a first reading again, or can we just do it by, being we do it by title only, we can make these changes without, and we can still move forward with our second reading. I think that's good. So, somebody want to make a motion with changes?
I don't even think you need a motion.
Don't need a motion? It's
Just
just
direct them what you
direct.
want to.
Okay.
If you're all in agreement.
I think we're in agreement, we want to
Change the timeline and make it the.
make it the developer's responsibility.
Can you go back to the timeline?
Yeah, what was the timeline?
You want to do 15 days and?
Well, 20 if we're either one. I don't-
Well, with us, it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
because
It's on the developer
it's
side.
on the developer at that point, so.
Would you like a 20-day period before planning board that would mention both dates, or they have to send out 2 separate notices, one for each?
15 days prior to planning, and that way it's 22 for this meeting.
So it would mention both
Both
potential.
meetings.
Well, we do put the date of the planning and zoning meeting and
And
the city council meeting
yeah.
that it will be presented at.
Okay,
In that
one
one
mailing.
letter.
One mailing.
Yeah,
Do that and they can figure it out.
Okay. Great discussion.
I'll have that, those changes highlighted in red for the next agenda, so we can take a look at those for the second reading.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Good suggestion, Carl. Thank you.
Just a thought is that perhaps if planning and zoning were to be twice a month, it might also tie this up. That's probably heresy.
We got people from
We got a
planning.
member
so
behind you
how you
They're all behind me.
For volunteers.
Okay, good deal. All right, so let's move on. Carly, you're on again with accessory structures on commercial property. No, I'm sorry.
Yes.
It's a little, well,
Back that.
We're all here.
I'm back.
You're here.
Yeah. Okay, this one's also a lot of information, so please just stop me if you have any questions along the way. This is a discussion on food trucks, accessory uses, and accessory structures. You should have received 4 separate memos that did go out after the packet, but will be posted on the website.
They are posted.
Okay. So we prepared these in order to assist the city with decisions to potentially amend the existing regulations that pertain to the location criteria, the use and accessory use and/or structures that are associated with food trucks. This can be broken into 3 issues that I have with the Land Development Code. The first, starting with the definitions that we have for food trucks and food trailers. It's confusing and is not successful in creating clear regulations for consistent decision-making. Florida statute and state regulation, departments do not make the same differentiation between food trucks and food trailers. And it's really bulky in the code how it reads. Instead, the state utilizes the term mobile food dispensing vehicles. We advise that the city clarify these inadequacies with revised terms and definitions. But in doing so, the city should consider which zoning districts mobile food dispensing vehicles are allowed in. the operation standards for them and the development requirements if the city chooses to do so. The city must also consider what else is allowed on site with food trucks. That includes accessory uses or accessory structures with a food truck, or whether a food truck should be considered a principal, permanent, or temporary use. That's not defined as we have it now, and again makes it inconsistent for how we're making decisions right now. If a food truck does become an allowable principal use, so it's listed on that table in the zoning district, that would require that the food truck itself has to meet all development standards, parking, landscaping, impervious surface, etc., of the comprehensive plan and land development code, unless it was specified otherwise. And it would be required to submit for approval from y'all with the development order process. Then we get into the regulation of accessory uses in general. This would apply to food trucks as well as all other development. It also should be considered for revision because it's important to differentiate between accessory structures and accessory uses. Right now in your zoning tables in the land development code, many of the allowable accessory uses are actually accessory structures. The city's taking an approach where it's trying to list all applicable possible accessory uses that someone could have on their property. We don't think that's organizationally possible or really the best way to go about it. Instead, we recommend that the city take the definition of accessory use, which is written below, and use that to allow any ancillary use based on the principal allowable use on the property. In doing this, we need to also look at the definition for principal structure because that right now is also unclear. I can go into any of that in more detail if we'd like. Again, it's a lot, but all of your land development codes super intertwined, so we thought it important to bring up all three of these issues together.
Carly, you have the Florida statutes here also.
Yes.
Are you suggesting we use those instead of what we currently have?
For the basic definition of what we're calling a food truck is, we just think it's clearer to use, if we're defining the term food truck to be mobile dispensing vehicle and using that Florida statute definition, if that's something y'all are happy with. Right now, we're trying to break it into food truck and food trailer, and those two things mean separate things, and I myself can interpret what that actual difference is, and where that line falls between what a food trailer is and what a food truck is. But food trailers are not allowed within the city unless they existed prior to this ordinance. Food trucks are.
Well, they say,
Confused.
Yes.
they say whether it's self-propelled or otherwise movable.
Yes.
So that could be a trailer or a truck.
Yes, that's what, see, when I read food truck or food trailer, that's what makes sense, is it drivable itself or is it pulled behind another truck? But that's not what the definition is. Currently, our code defines what a food trailer is not in order to explain what it is. So I know.
Okay. So we do have a question in the back.
Having been through the food truck trailer wars before, let me suggest that this is certainly deep enough and extensive enough that y'all need to do this in a workshop. I shudder to think what y'all might come up with in the next 5 minutes. So please do us all a favor and put this in a workshop.
This is just a discussion item, so we're looking for how you want us to move forward with this intertwined issue.
Does staff have a recommendation to the board on how they would
I don't think
proceed?
they've reviewed this yet.
We have several recommendations, including using the state statute for mobile food dispensing vehicles as the definition. But our recommendations at this level are very general.
I see.
And so if we were instructed, maybe after a workshop, to go back and rewrite these sections of the code, we'd look at it much more.
I see.
Yeah, I agree with Lisa, it's somewhat complicated. I thought that right away, and I really think we should probably table it and go ahead and put up a workshop there for the time wise.
Hang on. Yes, sir.
You know, to add what Lisa said, nobody sitting at this table was here after the hurricane, sitting up here. It was after you even, when you left. The whole discussion with the food trucks came up because no restaurant. And then the food trucks and the trailers came up because of Killer Seafood is different than everybody else. And this was discussed at these meetings for damn near a year. So I mean, like Lisa said, you need to do a workshop and really think about what you're going to do and don't piecemeal anything together. Because it's a big deal for the people out here.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have any restaurants, size of one, and this could affect everybody out here. And what they've done out here, like Killer and the rest of them, they're serving the city. So you need to make sure whatever you do doesn't affect the people that have been here working to give us something.
So would we move to direct the city administrator to put together a workshop for discussion this in depth with people?
Absolutely, yeah.
You good with that, Chris?
Yes.
We'll move forward, we'll come back with your recommendations, we'll talk with this and we'll come and help us define everything and there you go. All right, thank you. You're good. All right. All right, next is our ordinance 820, golf cart registration. Mr. McCabe?
Yes, at one of our last meetings, it was probably a month or so ago, the council directed us, or me, to draft an ordinance that basically brought back golf cart registration. And that's what I did. We have, what this ordinance has done is brought back amended ordinance 689 to reinstitute the registration of golf carts. It increased the fee from $15 to $25. It also sets forth all the same fines and procedures that were in old ordinance number 569.
I only have one question, where it says police inspection of golf carts. Funds from the registration fees collected will support cost of street designation signs, police inspection of golf carts. I didn't know that there was any inspection of golf carts.
That's the way that it was. I ran this by Lieutenant Williams, and he was fine with it.
So what are we paying, saying that we're taking these fees, we're paying the police department, not only that, and the sign, what are they inspecting?
Well,
I can answer that.
Okay.
So they used to check that they had the triangles in the back, and they had to check that they had the blinkers they needed in the rear mirror. They did walk out and look
But we
at that.
stopped that.
Correct, but that's what it was.
And that's what we said at the meeting before we had them write this, that we would be doing that.
Take the inspection out.
The inspection would be out. So
Okay,
we may need to consider going on taking that inspection.
That's fine, we can take the inspection out.
Okay. That's not my, only question I had. So, we will, anything else, Mr. McCabe?
That's it.
That's it? Okay, so we will, take a motion to read ordinance 825.
Could we get maybe Lieutenant Williams, is he here, his input, because I think he was going to
We
do some
can-
education as well.
We can do,
Okay.
that discussion.
Okay.
So let's read our ordinance, or let me have a motion, please, to read ordinance 820 by title.
I make a motion, first reading of ordinance 820, golf cart registration.
Second.
Tammy, call the roll.
Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Welly?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Okay, read ordinance 820, please.
Ordinance 820, an ordinance of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, amending ordinance number 689, adding golf cart registration, providing for fines for failure to register and for operation of golf cart after registration is revoked, providing for codification, repeal of ordinance in conflict herewith, severability, and an effective date. Okay.
So I want to open this for public discussion.
Rock Cruz, Colorado. Last time this was discussed a couple of months ago, this was all brought up. Everybody thinks it's a great idea. I think it's a great idea. What you need to do is make sure, like you said, there's no inspections, because if the police stop somebody, that's going to be the inspection right there. But you need to make sure when they come up and get their little sticker, that you hand them the city ordinance, and Lieutenant Williams could probably print out, give you the copy of the new state regulations that went in effect October 1st, because I guarantee you, 90% of the people that don't live here are going to be clueless about it. And the whole thing changed with driver's licenses and age requirements and everything else. And that happened through the whole state because of what's been going on with golf carts in all the communities. So you got to make sure you print that out and give it to them with the sticker, and then there's no questions asked. When the police see them doing something stupid, they stop them, they got no argument. That's it.
Lieutenant Williams did write up a thing, the rules of the road, which pretty much outlines those things. It should be handed out to the person when they get their registration.
Mr. Bill?
Bill Hamilton, 212 Hamilton Road. Are you going to differentiate between low-speed vehicles and golf carts as far as being registered for the city?
I think you don't need to register a low vehicle. They have a tag.
And when they register for a golf cart, I think it'd be nice to sign, for them to sign an acknowledgement that they agree that no underage drivers be allowed to drive it, and they will not be allowed on sidewalks on Highway 98. We've stopped several people from going up and down the front of it. Oh, we didn't know. So, well, you'd probably rather hear it from me than from the sheriff.
I mean, you could do that.
Just give them to sign an acknowledgement that they get ready and agree to it.
This does outline the rules of the road.
So basically have an agreement
You
that
just
they have
have,
to
you
sign
just
when they get there
have,
too.
I receive,
I mean,
and
yeah.
sign it.
Put it on the application as a box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, that works good. Good idea. And don't even come up here saying that I'm paying your golf Which you know I.
Video.
I
John
know,
Harold,
you got me
23
on
First
video.
Street.
Okay.
When we brought this up before, of course, Marty was behind my back, so I was scared then. I'm not so afraid now. Stay quiet. We talked about no registration, now I see annual registration. So is this gonna be a one-time? Because annual means every year. And why do we need the money? $25, it's just a question. What? Can someone answer that?
I remember we talked
Yeah,
about
we
that
did
too.
talk
It
about
said one time and then
One
annual,
time.
so that's what, my question was gonna be the same.
Yeah.
How did we decide to go annual?
You
Just
need
copy
to
the old
agree.
ones.
Yeah, I mean, we can take that out. It's up to you guys.
That was my question. And you are paying it, Mayor. I got you.
I got you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hey, I have a quick question about describing
Name?
Tim King.
Oh, I told you.
Yeah. Are UTVs the same as, are they allowed the same as a golf cart?
No, I'd say,
Okay, I didn't think so,
yeah.
but I just wanted to make sure that that's clear. Because we have quite a few of them running around town. That's.
What kind of question? Thinking about it. Well, I'll save it for discussion. Anything else in the public? Yes, ma'am. Let's see. Can we take an email? Next.
Taking a police inspection on
Mary
the
Penny, Couples Avenue. If you're not going to do it annually, you should have a stipulation that when the vehicles change ownership, they have to be re-registered.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's what we were talking about. Annually makes them come back and make sure that they have same owner.
You can do it any way you guys want.
All right, we'll talk about the discussion. Mr. Bogdan, yeah.
Bobby Paul, 215 Kimco. I just want to make sure it's not in the language here that a street legal vehicle is not considered a golf cart. It's already been registered, it's been tagged, and it's insured. It should be,
Yeah.
but it needs to be in this language. Not just all golf carts.
Non-state registered golf cart or vehicles.
I can
what's
think
gonna
of a
be
way to
different?
word that.
Yeah,
Non-licensed.
non-licensed, non-tagged,
Non-registered.
non-registered, yeah, non-licensed. I think Marty knows how to word that. You gotta have a registration, right, to get a tag.
You have to have a tag.
Yeah, and have a tag.
Yep.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else?
Why don't you just do like your boats? I mean, every January, I gotta come up here and get a new sticker, same thing. You pay the $25, you come up here, you get your sticker for your boat, you get one for your golf cart, and you're good to go. And it's got the year on it, just like you do. You change the colors, and that's it. That way the police will know, they drive by and the sticker's red, next year it's green, whatever, and if it doesn't match, there ain't something right here. Because they're gonna change hands golf carts. You see them for sale all the time in the neighborhood, and just make it simple.
Okay. Anyone else from the public?
Go back to $15 and do a year's.
Anybody else in the public? Okay, so we're gonna close the public. Now let's go to discussion here.
Yeah, I guess
There's
the
a lot.
big deal is we've talked annually and we've talked, just one-time fee. So I think we ought to settle that. And if we settle it, I don't think the price should be $25. It should probably be $10 or whatever, if it's gonna be annual, 15 or whatever. But what we're looking for, we're looking for the person to come back, make sure it's the same person, register under the same person and everything else. So I think we ought to settle that first.
I think so too. And Mr. Marty? So you were back there shaking your head, like, yeah, we need these like different color sticker every year, so it just makes it easier for you guys. And we do need to make it easier for you because, yeah,
It's like they're saying, a lot of times people sell these golf carts.
yeah.
Year in, year out, they'll sell the golf cart to somebody else, and it's down the road, it's got a sticker on it, and he just comes in here, I got this sticker here, and I need my replacement. It needs to make sure the information's correct on file and everything whenever they come get a new sticker for you. That would be about the easiest way to do it.
So annually is probably going to be the easiest way to keep golf carts identified and help our police department, our sheriff's department to identify these. So $20, $15 annually?
I'd say 15.
15.
So go back to 15.
So let's go back to 15
And keep
annually.
annually.
And are we changing the color of this? I mean, I don't know anything about this. I wasn't here when the last
I don't think you
time.
necessarily would have to have that in the ordinance, you just.
Right, but I'm just saying, you know.
Well, I would like to know what Lieutenant Williams' opinion would be.
Can we, like in the audience, please?
Does he feel like the cart should be inspected? Oh, we're talking about eliminating inspection.
No, there's not inspection.
Okay, so what are your thoughts on that, Lieutenant Williams? Do you feel like golf carts should be inspected every year for safety and education, or do you think that should be eliminated?
Well, whenever they get that paper and they get to sign it, they know that they have to have lights and or windshield when it's raining or foggy or anything else. It has to be included in it. You know, as far as an annual inspection, I don't really think once it gets registered, it should be registered because they know the rules, they sign for it, they know what's going on. But, you know, I don't see that they would need for an annual inspection.
What about an initial inspection?
I don't-
When they first come in and get the registration?
Well, that's a two-edged sword on that one, because I could come up there and say, hey, we don't have a windshield. Well, I'm just gonna operate during the daytime, but then they roll out there at night. That's why they sign that release. It says, you know, at nighttime, or you mean in the rain or in the fog or whatever, I have to have a windshield, I have to have lights, I have to have all of this. So they have already, you know, recognized that they're supposed to have that when they come up there. And they sign it.
I've had a lot of people ask me about nighttime, having them out at nighttime. Let me just tell you what they're saying. I go to my friend's house, I have dinner, it gets dark, I have to drive home. I've driven my golf cart, it has lights, it has blinkers, it has everything like a car. Why am I going home and getting stopped by the police and telling me you can't do that? So is the ordinance of not driving at night, is it just safety, is it state law?
I think that's state statute.
State statute, that's what I was wanting to find out.
Check Port St. Joe, because we got golf carts driving all over the place.
I'm thinking it's, I was just thinking it was just here. And, what, so,
Rules have been stretched all over the place, man. We're just trying to keep everybody safe.
say,
So it's not a state, I didn't think it was a state statute.
okay.
I think it's just what we've done.
Do we think we can allow people to drive home from, on their golf carts as long as they had the lights, the blinkers, you know, I've gotten stuck out there and I've had to have friends, well, I'm gonna have to leave my golf cart here, y'all just drive me home because I'm not gonna break the law. So, I did get caught out with rock one day. I drove home hitting a rock. You followed me. You made sure I got home safe. So you can give me a ticket later. But no, seriously, I think the golf carts we're becoming more of a golf cart community. And I think it's beneficial that we're gonna require the lights and the blinkers and all that. So I think that maybe we can consider, as long as they have these items like.
You just need to let me know, because I need
So
to,
what
I
do
need to
y'all
amend
think
ordinance.
about, I think the citizens would agree that they've probably gotten caught out or something after dark.
Don't look at me. They stay in my eyes. I don't know. It's just something that, I'd like to see it, but.
I think
to
if we're,
get it,
if,
you
yeah.
have to do a time, I think a time, I don't know, do they have a time in Gulf County?
No. Just
No
driving
time?
around.
No, they're driving around all hours.
Yes, sir. Who's got it?
Yeah, Larry Henderson
Hey,
from
Larry.
7th Street. Seems like there's a lot going on with golf carts. One of the things that seems to be a problem among all the rest of them is vacationers, when they rent the property, the golf cart goes with it on 7th Street. Closest thing we have to a super highway in Mexico Beach. Watching a lot of 12, 13-year-olds, driving, giggling, going through stop signs. So we're going to do the registration, perhaps in that, a sticker for several, rules.
Yeah, we're gonna have
They
So
get a
it's not like-
print.
they get a printout.
Kind of like maybe a real comprehensive,
And I'm sure that Lieutenant Williams will like educate them when he stops them too.
Got a whole basket full of
Yes, sir, you've made a good point. Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
George Gill, 124th Street. My question is what, and I don't care one way or the other about stickers. What are we trying to resolve? What's the problem that we have right now with our golf cart community that a sticker for $10 or $20 or $50, what is that going to resolve?
Okay, so we talked about this before. What's really going on in the community is a golf cart, maybe of a visitor, drives it across 98 and parks it on the beach side, takes their stuff and goes down to the beach. The lieutenant comes by, sees it, stops, has no idea who it belongs to. Unless he spends his time monitoring that golf cart and see who comes up there 5 hours later to get in it, then it's going to sit there.
And that, I'm not to interrupt,
Right.
that's a serious problem for Mexico Beach is, because I see one or two,
Well,
3 or 4 or 5 during the whole summer.
it's against the law. You can't cross 98.
Well, yeah, we got a law for that.
Right.
We already have a law. I'm not trying to be cantankerous, I'm just wanting to know what a sticker, I understand for identification, is that what you're saying? It identifies the golf, because it's not gonna stop a 13-year-old from driving, or a
That's gonna be-
10-year-old.
That's going to be Mr. Lieutenant Williams'
Well,
job.
Lieutenant Williams can't be every place all the time, as we all well know. But, okay,
It will help.
so it's strictly identification.
And we even talked about, George, like, if you have a sticker on there, and I'm walking my dog, well, I don't have a dog, but if I was out walking and I had a sticker, I seen a golf cart with 12-year-olds going down the street, I could see what sticker number that is, and I could call Lieutenant Williams and say, over here on such and such, this sticker number, and he could find out who exactly it belongs to and be there when they get there.
Well, you got better eyes than I do.
I'm hoping these stickers are gonna be
Oh, big stick.
big with a big number on it. That's what I'm hoping.
All right, now you're talking.
Gary Cox, 509 Maryland.
Yes.
What are we gonna do about these rental companies that bring in golf carts? Are we gonna force them guys to register all their golf carts?
Yeah, and they'll be,
I mean, they're gonna bring in.
if they have a license plate on it, they don't have
Well, a
to.
lot of them are coming in just for the residential use in subdivisions. And they're just riding around, you can see their logo on the side. They don't have a tag.
If they don't have a
We're
tag,
gonna
they
make
have to
them
have stickers.
register all these vehicles.
Yes, and it will, when they break the law, when their leaser breaks the
long as
law,
we,
it'll go back to them.
Those, they're held to the same thing we're held
The
to.
rental companies are required to register here.
So it's, it seems like we're adding a dollar here and a dollar there, we're getting nickels and dime to death in this town already.
Well, we're gonna probably make a little money off this, because I'm sure we're gonna have a lot of people breaking the law. $50, $75. Okay, oh, I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. Cindy Jolly, 2703 28th Street. We're talking about a lot of administration, and we have a tendency to adopt a lot of ordinances, and then people in the back offices are saying, how are we gonna administer this? And there's a lot of cost in administration, and there's very little benefit. They make devices that you can lock a steering wheel, or you can lock a wheel. And guarantee you, if you lock my steering wheel, I'm gonna call you. You're not gonna have to wonder if that's Cindy Jolly's car. Cindy's gonna call, and then you're gonna know I violated some rules or policies or whatever. But there's a lot of tools out there that we can purchase to better administer things, rather than coming up with stickers and labels and different colors, and then we have a lot of waste because we didn't use them all, or somebody failed to re-register. I'm all for, having opportunities to make money and let it benefit our community if it's going back into the community and things that's going to enhance our quality of life. But just building policies and then not having enough people in the office to administer it, or law enforcement to administer it, we're not getting anywhere with that. So I don't have golf carts, so I don't have a dog in this fight, but I am very concerned about efficiencies and making sure we get the bang for the buck when we put policies in place.
And I think this is really similar to the boat stickers. How does that work for the office? Boat registration.
We basically, they have a form that they have to come fill out, give us their license plate number, all of their information. They can now do it on the website as well, and so a lot of it we can do back and forth that way. We have a spreadsheet that we keep track of, the sticker number, who it belongs to, and that's basically what we do. So if something happens where we need to get in contact with somebody about it, we have their information. Then we just keep all of the forms that everybody fills out.
And you think this could be done similarly?
That's
pretty efficiently?
That's what I would think. I would think it would be just like doing the.
They can register on the
just
web,
like
or
we could set it up to where they could do it and pay for it on the web and come in and pick up their sticker, or we can mail it to them, which is what we do with boat rent permits right now.
So really, I think it might work pretty efficiently. Okay. All right. Yes, sir.
Steve Cox, 225 Charles Corner. I think we need to include something in some little grace period for after dark golf carts, if you've got lights and blinkers and all that jazz. But I think there's got to be a cutoff, because we are a vacation town. I mean, our name says beach at the end of it. And you can't have people running up and down the road, because some of them are gas powered at 1 a.m. and that sort of thing. So whether it's 9 or 10 at night, if I'm at a friend's house having dinner and it gets dark, I'd like to be able to drive my car home without violating the law.
Exactly.
Just say an hour after sun.
Well, we say an hour after sunset now, but I'm thinking of what, 30 minutes? Yeah, 30 minutes. I'm thinking this is just my thoughts. Our noise ordinance is 10 PM. So could we not match that? What time? 10 PM?
As long as they have lights.
Yes, well.
I just want to spread,
Yeah.
but not.
It would have to be on the education form that you must have lights if you're driving, lights and blinkers if you're driving past dark.
Blinkers or just brake lights?
Headlights, brake lights, and blinkers.
Everything.
Just like a car.
Yes, blinkers, that's what St. Joe requires. Yeah. But you can put that in city ordinances, that'll be inside the island and everything, you know, it's no state highway, no sidewalk still, or
Yeah.
anything else, but that city ordinance, you can make it that. If you wanna do it, then that's what you're gonna be looking at, if the headlights, taillights, windshield, you know, inclement weather, whatever you wanna do.
And we want to make it good for our citizens as well as good for our city, as far as safety and everything as well. Help our sheriff's department identify these people. So what are we looking at now? Clint's going, yeah, I'm rewriting this whole thing. $15 annual. Oh, I'm sorry, Bill.
One more suggestion, any ordinance, rule, law, or anything without a penalty attached is just a suggestion.
Yeah,
We've got penalties on everything. We do have penalties, yes.
All right.
Is 50, second, that's what I'm telling you. 50, 75, and then 150.
All right. Joey?
Joy Hutchison, Highway 98. I hope you think really long and hard about this after dark.
Okay.
I have almost hit 107th Street and 123rd.
Do they have lights?
It's going to be very hard on them if everybody's up and down these roads at night and drinking and it's going to be a nightmare. I think you should really think about this.
Joey, did they have lights?
Did they what?
Did they have lights?
Yeah.
The ones that you...
They're not bright lights.
Were you drinking?
Okay, so, what y'all's thoughts on nighttime, 10 PM? With, all the gadgets that a car has, blinkers, lights.
I mean, if you're riding, if you're on a road that's 35 miles an hour, I think it's a problem if you're on 98. I think
We're not allowed.
Well, there are, yes.
Well, the lower for those.
You can go on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do they ride at night? If you have a license plate, you can be on 98 at night.
If it does 30 miles an hour, it has lights and everything.
Right, and they have a license plate, they can drive. So I think this is the same thing, they're just not allowed on 98, and we have cutoff time.
What the ordinance says right now is golf carts will be permitted on city streets from during daylight hours. Golf carts are not permitted for operation on city streets during darkness. During times of fog, smoke, rain, and low light conditions, golf carts must be equipped with headlights, brake lights, turn signals, and windshield. So if you're in the day, you don't.
So could that read basically only ones with headlights, taillights, blinkers, windshields
Can operate
be
after dark.
after dark?
I can change it to say what we need to say.
I would be very specific with that, because you don't want regular golf carts with no lights and stuff going after dark. And people can add those things to their golf carts. I mean, you can. Relatively simple blinkers, headlights and
If we
stuff.
drive on the roads, you should.
Exactly. Okay. Anything else anybody want to change, add, discuss?
I do have concerns about the nighttime driving, Originally, we were known as a drinking town with a fishing problem. And I think as we become highly populated, I think there's going to be more concern with younger folks out driving underage, and they'll be drinking, people will be drinking. I'm not too in favor of the driving at night with the golf carts.
And that's 2 in a row, I'm on the same page as them. I just,
And, you know, my heart goes out to the police officers that have to enforce that too, and the concerns that they see that we don't even see because we're not out at night as much as they are. So I think their opinion should have a lot on that.
Let's ask Lieutenant Williams, what's your thoughts on the nighttime driving if they have everything like a car? Like, okay, we're saying everything, all the golf carts that are tagged with a tag, and they drive at night even on 98 and elsewhere. If we had the golf carts that are completely equipped, but no tag, and they got a sticker, and they drive at night, would that be any more a burden on y'all or not?
No.
Okay.
They don't have the proper equipment to pull over, you know.
Exactly. Okay.
But it's city ordinance, and that's what y'all got to come up with.
Well, we want,
Do you still want to put a time limit on it?
I was,
City ordinance also covers the 16 years or older with a
Yeah.
valid license, so
Right.
we don't have to worry about that until we catch them.
exactly.
And, you know, that's pretty much where it lays with that.
Okay. All right, so, oh, hang on. It's fine, go ahead.
Amy Buckingham for Colorado. Has anyone reviewed the Port St. Joe?
He does their
ordinance?
He does their ordinances too.
So they allow between sunrise and midnight.
Yeah.
Okay.
And their checklist is, you know, with the lights and rearview mirror and all that.
Yeah. So I think our 10 o'clock noise ordinance would fall into this. Yes, George?
I think Ms. Logan brought it up, but have you all sitting up here discussing this ruled out the workshop possibility? Because I agree with her. Golf carts have been an issue, you know, pro and con for years and years and years and years. And to, you know, to me, to give it some very serious thought and make some decisions, you know, that may or may not impact citizens' wallets, among other things. Are you gonna make the decision, is that what you're doing? You're making the decisions here and a workshop's been ruled out?
No, it's not ruled out. So what we've got an ordinance we're trying to put in place.
Right.
And we're trying to decide how exactly this ordinance should be worded. It still has to come back for a second reading.
But that
before
would
it would
be part of the
approved.
workshop?
We could have a workshop. I mean, if we put together a workshop for
the workshop was for the previous agenda
previous
item.
agenda
but
item,
we
then
could throw this with
throw
it.
this with it, yeah. Before the second reading.
Okay.
Would that work?
Just what you want to do.
All right, somebody let's give some direction here. So, do y'all just want to make the corrections to the ordinance move forward like Clint? Or do y'all want a workshop? We had a lot of good discussion.
We have one workshop already set up, can we just piggyback on it?
We can.
Okay. I'd make a motion, we go ahead and have a workshop for the first ordinance reading 820 on golf cart registration.
We don't have to have, we just have to give direction to,
You got it.
we'll just give direction to
Workshop
Chris.
of the two together.
Put the two together, yep. Okay, so that will go to a workshop and we'll let y'all know. And we'll have more discussion on it. Great discussion, I appreciate it. We're going to our next agenda item, discussion of St. Joe Company letter. Salt Creek Phase 2. And this is Chris.
Mayor and Council, in September, the City Council denied the development order request from the St. Joe Company regarding Salt Creek Phase 2. As we all know, shortly after that, we received letters from the St. Joe Company, which detailed what all they've done for the city, our working relationship over the last number of years, as well as the things that they, or the good community, or the good neighbor that they've been to our community. And at the conclusion of that letter, they just asked for the city council to reconsider the denial of this development order. And so that's what's before you tonight. Unfortunately,
Carly and the planning collaborative left, or they could have spoke on this issue, but it did meet all of our requirements, and TPC recommended that the city council approve it.
So I'm open up for public discussion. Yes, ma'am.
Mary Kenny, Cockles Avenue. St. Joe Company has been a good partner over the years. However, I do believe that they've taken advantage of the city in other instances. And with all the development that's going on, if the city doesn't stand their ground and do things properly going in, you can't go back and fix it after the horse is out of the barn. And I think what I have the biggest problem with, one of the reasons of that whole thing is the entrance to the boat ramp. That entrance right at the bottom of the bridge is an accident waiting to happen. And that has gotten completely glossed over. I believe that what Chris said, that there was a 250-foot lead-in that was approved by the DOT. There's no 250-foot lead-in. And there's no turn lane over the bridge. There's no turn lane. There is a yellow section for turn lane going to the south. There's no turn lane from the north as you're heading east. And it's just that quick turn. And especially in the summer, if you have 4 or 5 different boats lined up, backed up over that bridge, it is an accident waiting to happen both ways. And I think the only way you're going to get things like that changed is by holding St. Joe Company's feet to the fire by not giving them permits on other things. And that's just the way it's done. You know, it's like you're saying you wanted the parking lot and this and that and a crossover for the bridge for a walking path. You know, this is really important too. And I just think you just can't roll over because they say pretty please. And that's it.
Thank you. Yes, yes, sir.
Jim Bush, 130 Palm Street. We've got two competing interests here. St. Joe Company's concerned about making as much money as they can, as quickly as they can. You guys are concerned about serving the needs of this city. What she said. Exactly.
Thank you.
Rob Priest, I've been to every one of their meetings since the hurricane. And every one of their dog and pony shows has been the same. Every citizen went up there, we talked about the boat ramp entrance, the way we didn't even want the apartments here. We wanted the apartments at the other end and the houses by the canal going out. So the apartments were the last thing between Tyndall and that. Nothing happened. The big dog and pony show they had at Beacon Hill Fire Department, they had honchos of the company were there. I talked to them about putting where the townhomes are now, a golf cart crossing, a path across where the road is right now. Oh, they thought it was a great idea. Nothing gets done. 2 years ago, when everything came before the council, you guys weren't sitting here. Nobody, I think Jerry was the only one. Everybody, I brought the same stuff up again about that walking path. And nothing. Nothing was done about it. And finally, at the Planning and Zoning Board, we brought it up. And then last time brought it up again and came here. And Rich Wolf figured out what's going on. He's new here. He wasn't involved with that before. And put a stop to it. You got nothing. Every one of these side streets on 98, you can't park on. None of them. All I did was add a little parking lot at the end with like maybe 30 cars. There's no way, 216 apartments, all the townhomes and the houses are coming in, people have to go to the beach. How are they going to do it? They're going to go down to the dedicated beach. And you're affecting everybody in Mexico Beach that lives down here. Because that dedicated beach is going to be like the 4th of July all the time. It's going to be nowhere to park. And what's the big deal? There's a road there right now. They can go right across, just make it dirt, put some gravel in there like they talked about, was talked about parking, the gravel there, putting the road all the way down. That probably ain't even gonna be developed for 7 or 8 years until they put their other 300-400 houses over there. But they need to do something now, because otherwise you're screwing everybody in Mexico Beach. And it's time for you guys to stand up to them and say enough is enough. Put it in. What's it gonna cost them? It's nothing. It's a damn drop in the bucket for them. Make them do it. It's in there. You can make them do it. It says right in there. It's right in the LDC, black and white.
Lisa Logan. We make most every other developer complete what they're supposed to do. This first phase that St. Joe wants to do has their canal parkway. Chris has said that they're going to have a design for us by the end of the year. Okay, that's 2 months away. St. Joe is not special. They think they are, but they're not. They are just another developer. And they should be held to the same standards as everyone else who comes and develops in this town. It is not unreasonable for the city of Mexico Beach to require St. Joe to finish what they're doing to move, as I said last time, those 480 people in this first phase to the beach. I added that there needs to be dune walkovers across the St. Joe property to the beach in the south to take the people from the north to the south beach. I doubt that's going to be under consideration, but there needs to be some pathway to move 480 people down to the beach without them getting in their cars and going to the rest of the town, because what that does is put 480 more cars onto our already taxed roads. It taxes our infrastructure even more than it is, and it is fragile at this point. And if you will look at the layout of the town, the roads are made to bring the people from the north straight down in more than 40 places, straight down to the beach. This development is basically another small town in itself. They have no way to bring the people from the north end of the development to the beach on the south end, except to overload the other 3 miles of town. And this is what the St. Joe Company does not get. They're not accustomed to having to work within a town and the city limits of this size, and to understand that their development affects every single person in this 3 mile stretch, and it cannot be St. Joe's way all the time. So their plan and their letter, and it was worded very politically correct, and it was very a very good public relations letter, but it stated that the timeline for this winding canal pathway to move the people is 7 or 9 years down the road. So we are to overtax ourselves, the rest of the town, for the next 7 to 9 years until they get that done. Why should they be allowed to do that?
Thank you. Yes, sir?
Hello again, Chris
Hey,
from
Chris.
Dewberry. Just to address a couple of the things, you know, an entire phase of the apartments was moved at the request of the city and the public during the PUD process. The boat ramp access road wasn't even in the original plan for this project, but because of concerns by the citizens, that was added in as well as part of the PUD conditions or suggestions for future consideration. Pretty substantial amount of time and money went into putting that there. That is the connection that was permittable by DOT. We went through a couple of iterations. And we are currently under contract, and we're scheduled to begin the work to do this parking lot and the pedestrian access to the south side. It's just a matter of having the time to get the survey done We've already started laying out kind of the concept plan outside of the survey. They've been following through on everything that has been brought up. I think that the letter enumerates things that they have done. And the parking and the pedestrian path has been a topic of discussion, but there hasn't been a hook or a timeline or something established. I think this is a great opportunity through conditions on a development order to put that in a hard, fast thing. Instead of discussing it as something to be done, it can be memorialized in a development order with conditions that says basically prior to even final plat approval, can't even go vertical with any homes, this stuff shall be done. And I think that that's something that would benefit the city in putting, a hard timeline in place. And it's certainly not anything that our client has any concerns with.
Thank you.
Chris, you went back and talked to them after you talked with us that night.
Yes.
What did they say? I mean, we got the letter, it's a pretty letter, I mean, I understand it.
Sure.
It's true too, I mean, there's a lot.
And the end portion of that letter that says, in December of 2023 with having plans for the city.
Right.
Yeah, that was discussed. I was specifically asked, if I'm gonna put this in this letter, you better follow through with it and make sure that the timelines are met. So we're working on it. We're under contract for it. We are building it into our survey schedule. It's not just a matter of going and pushing a bunch of gravel. It seems like a really simple ask, but there's regulations. There's, following the city's own LDR. There's engineering requirements. So there are things that need to be looked at and designed from our perspective. But yes, sir, to answer your question, it was discussed, and specifically the commitment in the letter about December of 2023.
For design and sign.
Correct, for having a design to the city to look at. There'll be permitting and stuff after that. It won't quite take, for something like that, it won't take as long as some people have thought it might take. But regardless, if a condition's put in the DO that says prior to final plat approval, this stuff shall be done, then it shall be done before the final plat is approved by the city.
Chris, is that, you're talking directly across from the townhouse?
Yes.
Okay, that road, that dirt road, right across from there? From the townhouse?
That's something that we're trying to build into it and see if DOT will allow, it's an informal road right now, kind of a.
Yeah, but
it's not really a timber road,
that's their
but-
property there, and that was already in the plat approval for phase 4 and 5.
Yeah,
So I mean,
absolutely.
it's there.
But the putting we're calling it temporary, but it would essentially be a permanent connection in the eyes of DOT. That's something that would have to go through their approval process. But yes, that's the general location of this parking lot that we're talking about.
And that's what you're talking about, them adding in the timeline,
Correct.
saying that's in there.
As a condition.
That should be that's what we asked for. That's what we asked for.
Well, and I think it came up at the very end of the previous meeting, but I offered that at the very end of the meeting. But again, same thing. We definitely don't mind there being a condition of the permit or the development order in this case.
What do you feel is a reasonable timeline?
Well, the permits, don't know exactly how long those are gonna take, construction of it, but, typically what I see is when development orders are issued with conditions, they hang it up on the next step.
Yep.
It's like, okay, cool, yeah, you can go out there and build the infrastructure for this, but you can't go vertical with any homes until you do X and Y. And there's no way that they're gonna spend the money to do that development of the infrastructure and then not follow through and not be able to get a final plat that allows them to officially subdivide and sell and build.
I thought what we were hung up on was the stuff that wasn't done in phase 1.
It's not that it wasn't done, it's that it doesn't have a timeline.
Correct. And again, that was something that, these items have been discussed at different steps along the way, but there has not been, a monument I don't know the word I was trying to say. There hasn't been a, you know, a formalization of a timeline that says, you know, this is when it needs to be done. But this gives us the opportunity to make that
But if
a
you
reality.
look at everything here, most everything is either says completed, or, you know, the design and engineering is commenced, or, you know, and then some of them have times, like 2032.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so, yeah, so we don't want it to be 2032, okay?
No, I guarantee you, that's the last paragraph when I said, my client called me and asked me about that date. They definitely don't want it to be 2032 either.
Okay.
Are we at the table for a little while? We're here.
We're still public.
Okay.
Yeah, so, okay. Any other public before we close the public discussion? Thank you, Chris, and we'll probably have more questions for you now that we're going to close public discussion. We're coming to the table.
Yeah, I have a couple things. I mean, first of all, really, the letter was very nice. I mean, they did a great job with it. I mean, and we do support them. We really do. We've got a good relationship. I'd like to reinforce what the citizens are looking at and what I just heard from them.
Sure.
From a 2020 letter from St. Joe County. 2020, February 10th, 2020. The Air Force has repeatedly stated that the lack of off-base housing is one of the major concerns with the development at Tyndall. I don't hear anything about Mexico Beach. They want to build because they need places for Tyndall. All we're doing is trying to get those Tyndall people across the street safely. I mean, I'm not on a podium here, but you can't ignore this stuff. It's true what I just heard, excuse me, I don't remember your name, Mary?
Mary.
I mean, it's exactly right. It's a money thing, I understand that. We just want to be part of it, that's all.
No, understood. And I think that we are moving in that direction.
Well, the mayor just brought up the 2020 letter and then the village pub development commitments. 3032. I mean, some of the stuff dates, and some of them don't even have dates on them. Anticipate a time frame for apartment buildings 1 through 6. They're already built, they're completed. The remaining buildings are 7 through 9. They're built, they just need to get completed. And before the 2023. But that has nothing underneath it for a timeline to have the gravel parking lot on the south side.
Understood, and that's why I brought up the opportunity of adding a condition to this development order approval, is that puts a timeline on it, where there hasn't really been a timeline put on it to this point. But it puts it a hard, fast commitment, puts it at least a step in the process as a timeline.
So, okay, so let's just paint a scenario here that we approve this with a condition. When would y'all be at the point of going vertical? 6 months? 3 months? You know?
It would be more on the order of 6 to 12 months.
6 to 12 months.
Probably towards the end of that. I mean, it's a substantial amount of work.
So you're saying if we put a timeline on this and a stipulation on this, that before you go vertical, you got to have this parking lot. How long from there would it take to go vertical? A year? Less? More?
From the time the parking lot was done?
Yeah.
Or-
Yeah, I'm just kind of getting the timeline.
Sure. They would start, you know, it would be home builders doing it, so certain ones would start going vertical.
So these are all different, okay.
But, you know,
I'm thinking-
nothing can be done as far as officially transferring the property to a home builder under a contract or going vertical until the final plat is approved by the city.
Gotcha. Okay. So we're
That's-
thinking maybe 12 months that should be, and y'all would be ready to sell you're selling individual properties, I'm sorry.
Correct.
I don't have those back in front of me from last time.
Yeah.
But, so you're selling it, so before you can sell any of these lots, that parking lot should be in place.
That's correct.
Okay. Linda, you got anything?
So when we're talking a parking lot, are we talking about an acre of land and you're gonna throw a bunch of gravel in it? Is that what we're gonna get for this?
Well, it's going to be a gravel parking lot, but I mean, it's going to be designed, it's going to be sloped, it's gonna be compacted gravel so that it doesn't, break up or have potholes. It'll be engineered and designed so that the water will run off of it and not have standing water. But yeah, it's not just gonna be, haphazard, just scattering a bunch of gravel. It will be an engineered design parking lot. It just won't be, asphalt paved because it is, still considered a temporary parking lot.
For the millions of dollars that St. Joe Company is gonna make off of this, and we're gonna get a gravel parking lot to move hundreds and hundreds of people, that doesn't thrill me at all. It's just, I was told like this afternoon, there was a third-party review with a different Panhandle Engineering Company. I guess that's an independent company that also was involved in this project. So is it a choice for us to review what they came up with and maybe possibly have given some thoughts to how we're gonna move hundreds of people across the highway?
So my understanding of, and I'm not knowing all the moving pieces, but my understanding of their involvement, because it was an application that was prepared and designed by Dewberry, we submitted it for an application, and the crossings, the apartments, and the original permitted design of the townhomes, they provided the independent third-party engineering review to make sure that all of the city's codes and regulations and design standards were being met. So that was their involvement with the previous phases.
So it's kind of similar to what Carly and them do?
Correct, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Just from the engineering side rather
Gotcha.
than the planning side.
Gotcha.
So I think, was it Panama City recently that was on the news where they were actually going to build an underground tunnel to move people, and it was gonna be a $5 million project. Any chance that we're gonna have something happen? Considering the millions of dollars that St. Joe will make off of this, and we're appreciative of all they've given us, but we're talking hundreds of people by the time y'all finish this out, millions of dollars in St. Joe's pocket. It'd be nice to have something really nice like that.
Like a big bridge at the
The
beginning where it
gravel
comes in, it says
parking lot.
Mexico Beach, it's got all these beautiful lights. Have you been to Peachtree City? They've got this big bridge, crossover bridge. Not only can people go over it, golf carts can go over it because they're a great golf cart community. And it's, this beautiful bridge. I mean, think about it.
Take that into consideration.
Can I ask you a
Okay.
question?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, sir.
This particular parking lot they're gonna put for these apartments, is it gonna be gated?
No.
Single reason I'm saying this, the water above the jetty is a hell of a lot cleaner than the water down here. And when they realize if they can get up there, they're gonna fill the parking lot up. Now, are they gonna gate it and keep people out, or are they just gonna leave it open?
So you're speaking of the parking lot for the apartments specifically, or the temporary parking lot?
The
that we're talking
temporary,
about?
anything on the other side of the canal, that water up on that side is a lot cleaner than down here. As soon as these people down here realize that they've got a big place to park, is Joe gonna run everybody out and just say, no, this is just strictly for our development?
No, so the beach access parking that we're talking about on the south side of 98, it's the topic at hand here, that's not gonna be gated off. It's gonna be open.
Okay,
The reason I asked the question is specifically what parking lot is, the apartment buildings do have a gate, but that's for the residents. But this parking lot that we're discussing now, it won't be gated off.
Can I ask
Yeah.
a question about, when you have this parking lot, how are they gonna get from that parking lot to the beach? Y'all gonna have a walkway over the dunes, or, having a parking lot there means nothing if they can't get to the beach.
So a walkway over the dunes would be a much longer time frame anyway because
So they're just gonna walk over the dunes.
species concerns. There is an access at the end of Canal Parkway right now, but putting a new dune walkover, we have permits for all the wetland impacts and such, but there are species concerns. There's a lot of moving pieces with that.
I hate to ask, are they gonna put a red light up there? There's people on this side of the road's gonna try to go to that side, and this gonna clog up 98. In the summertime, it's just like this. You can have everybody in those apartments and houses trying to go to the beach, and they're gonna try to walk across 98. The ones that can walk. The ones that can't walk are gonna take a golf cart across 98.
Okay.
And get down to the beach, because it's a half a mile down there where they're gonna try to go.
Okay, excuse me, I'm gonna bring this back to order, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. All right. I hate to do this, but yes, Mr. Bush.
Yeah, I
Your
realize
hand's
the
been up for a while.
public comment section is over.
Yes,
You
sir.
guys have a new option here that we weren't looking at before.
Yes, sir.
And if you're considering, I would urge you not to forget the boat access road, because that's a goat road right now, and that thing needs to be fixed too.
Yes, sir, thank you. Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry, I did tell you all to make you.
Well, I just wanted to suggest that if you really want to ensure that your timelines are met, you can put into your requirements liquidated damages. And then therefore, if they don't make the timeline, then they have to pay you a certain amount of money. And liquidated damages is an accepted procedure within the construction industry.
Okay, thank you. Okay, back to the table. Terry, did you have anything you would like to have input on this?
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 things for me. I mean, did everybody get this letter about what St. Joe has done for us and about the 88 acres and the 25 acres and the boat ramp parking and in the Canal Street, what they give us, leased us to let us use? And it also says in this right here that caught my eye about additional parking on the south side of Highway 98 will be provided. Chris, that's what, we got it in black and white now.
Sure, absolutely.
Will be provided when commercial development orders are submitted. So,
That could be years before development or commercial. And I think they're talking about a permanent parking lot at that point.
Correct, yeah, so on the south side of the PUD, there are commercial properties that have some delineated specific beach parking. That's what that's referring to.
And we do know, this council knows, we may not have all been sitting here, but we do know that St. Joe Company has been a good partner and they have provided with our citizens with a lot of extra stuff, boat ramp. It's a little scary to me, honestly. As a citizen, I was scared with the boat ramp being a leased item. That's scary when we're a fishing village. But yeah, and I agree that I think a timeline is good personally. You got anything before we?
Sure, I got plenty.
Okay.
I don't much care about the letter, not being disrespectful, don't care. Don't need to be reminded what you did for me, we'll try and get a favor on it, doesn't matter. However, in 2015 and 2016, somewhere in there was a hotel that was proposed at 33rd and 34th Street, and there was hours-long meetings over and over and over again. We don't care what you do on the other side of the bridge. Put it over there. We don't care. We don't care. We don't care. Now we care. Somebody made the comment, same standard as everyone else. Don't know who made it, but I wrote it down because you're right. We have to have the same standard to everybody else. I've never heard a discussion about anybody providing beach parking ever when they developed here. What are we going to do on 386 with the developments that are being proposed there? Are we going to require them to bring us beach parking? They meet our planning regulations, they meet our floodplain, they meet our engineering requirements. This is why we have impact fees. They pay us an impact fee. We provide parks and recs. If it's beach parking, that's our responsibility. That's what we do for 15th Street. That's what we do for everybody else. I'll vote to support with conditions, but I'll vote without conditions because I don't know why we continue to argue over something that meets our rules. That's all I have.
Yeah, I just think it just answered your part of it. I think at some point you get where you need to make a request of certain things. If this was a town of 200 people and they're building, those apartments, that's one thing. But we're increasing in size.
Mm-hmm.
There's a huge safety issue with 98, and I think it needs to start being addressed with developers. If they're going to build on that north side, we ought to get some assistance to get them across. And I think that's all we're asking. It's not that you do it every time. I just think right now is a good time to ask.
And speaking of going across, should we put a light, I mean, a crosswalk down there, from there to their parking lot with a button, because even though that's 35 through there, it's still dangerous, even if somebody's going to be walking across the road instead of driving across that road.
I do like the flashing lights they have.
I think that's a DOT
DOT,
request, but
that's
that's probably one I could get
But that,
answered.
the city would have to consider that too, so that'd be an expense on us.
If you're on that committee, you're on that committee, Dolly, that's where I got these lights.
Okay.
Till later at the major.
All right, so is there any more discussion at the table for this?
Since I think we've made our concerns known to Chris, is there any way we can just table this situation and not do a vote? But just Chris come back with a plan, you kind of have thoughts on what we want and how important that is. And just table it and then come back with this glorious plan, the creative mind that you have, know our concerns.
Problem is, it hasn't been tabled, it's been flat out denied.
Hang on.
Is it possible to,
Hang on. Are you kidding?
So if it's been denied, it's been denied, right? So
Well, they're bringing it back to us, to us.
then why can't we delay it again until we have a better plan? We don't have any kind of concrete plan, but a promise of a gravel parking lot. And St. Joe is a company that, you know, I don't know if anybody has read The Green Empire, but it gives the whole history of St. Joe Company over decades and decades, and it's not a good history. I've noticed, Chris, you often say my client, and you avoid saying the word St. Joe because it does have a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. People don't trust St. Joe Company. I'm sorry, that's the truth. I know they've been generous to our city, but they think about their shareholders and the millions of dollars that they're going to make. That really is the bottom line. We all know that. We're just asking for, we know our city is going to change drastically. It's never going to be the same because you're bringing in hundreds and hundreds of people. We're just asking for a little help. And I think we deserve more than a gravel parking lot. You know, y'all can do better than that. And I think we should just hold off until you can come up with a much better plan.
Okay, Rich?
yeah, the gravel parking lot, I mean, for me is at least something. It's addressing a problem with people driving across the street, parking somewhere rather than on single streets. So I see that as a solution. I don't like the fact that we don't have a timeline on it, and the first phase is pretty much built already. So we're already dealing with 200-300 cars already. So I think if we could do something by telling them, yes, we hadn't authorized the second phase, but in the first quarter of 2024, we want the gravel parking lot open.
By when, what'd you say?
First quarter of 2024?
They what, April, May?
Well, and if I may address that concern, you know, this is being done as a condition of this development order for this development. You know, putting a condition that's predicated on, you know, final plat approval, what have you, that gravel parking lot would be there to offset the impact of that development. I would be a little
second phase?
of this one, yes.
The second phase, yeah.
That's where I get confused.
So basically what Chris is saying, we can say, okay, well, we're going to let you guys move forward with your development order. And the condition is that we have this new parking lot in there before you start selling these lots to go vertical. Because it's individual lots being sold, and then people will come in and start building their houses. And then their houses can take a year.
But we still have to deal with the first phase that's already built.
Right. I mean, it's there already.
It's a gravel parking lot.
Yeah. So in other words, we're not going to add anything else to our plate without having this parking lot in place before they sell these lots. That's what he's asking for. So.
And this is giving us an opportunity to formalize a timeline and a step in the process to hang this improvement on. Like I said before, it's been discussed, you know, in the future, you know, consider doing this, but this gives us the opportunity now to actually put something hard on paper that will guarantee that prior to the next step being done, this work is completed.
How many parking spots is that gonna be? I know y'all already kind of figured that maybe out.
Oh, you put me on the spot here. Until we get the survey, we're not gonna be able to really nail it down. I mean, it's not gonna be on the order of 30 or 40 parking spaces. You know, it's gonna be a more substantial parking lot, but we've started doing some very preliminary layouts, but once you get the survey information, then that could change things drastically. But that's why we wanted to have a plan to the city in December for you guys to look at, so you have an expectation of what's gonna be there. Express any concerns with it, what have you, and then we can finish things up from that point with the design.
All right, so I'm gonna entertain a motion for St. Joe, for Salt Creek Phase 2 with, I'll just entertain a motion, y'all can just come up with a motion. Wait, you remember your motions can be approved, deny, or even table.
Can I just ask a clarifying question?
Yes, that'd be fine.
He's asking for approval of phase 2 development order,
Correct.
contingent upon rebuilding or them doing this parking. But the only thing that we're stopping them, they don't have to do it, and we're just not gonna let them go vertical, which could be a long time from now, right? So that parking lot could sit there not being done we're just not letting them move forward with phase 2.
We can say, you can move forward, here's my thoughts, just before we go to a motion, I guess. We could say, okay, yeah, you can do it on this, we'll give you approval, just move forward with phase 2, with the condition that you come back in December with this, how many parking spaces and the plan, and then have this plan finished
At a certain time.
at a certain time frame.
Am I reading this wrong? I mean, does this not say that their 2020 letter, not say that they're gonna supply parking for the first phase?
But the first phase is there, so.
I know
unless
they haven't
we-
supplied the parking, it doesn't say parking on the north side, it says parking on the south side. Additional parking on the south side of 98 will be provided when commercial development orders are submitted south of Highway 98.
It's south, commercial, that's the commercial, that's a totally different one. That has nothing to do with phase 1 or phase 2. So we're talking about, they've got the apartments there. We can't go back and say, oh, well, you didn't put a parking lot, so we're not gonna let you do anything else.
Their timeline of 2020 said the parking lot would be 2032.
Yeah, and that was,
Phase 15.
yeah, phase 15, I was gonna say, and I think that's a lot of phases out.
And again, that's referencing the commercial development.
Correct.
Outside. Mr. Cahill, I'm offering the conditions as a suggestion. I'm not requesting conditions specifically, but that was just discussion of.
That was back to the hotel.
We want something, and you want something, and we have a solution if we want to move forward with that, with putting. So,
I'd like to make a motion that we table, and that we just need more discussion. We need to be offered more. I think, y'all, this is your job of what y'all do. Y'all build gazillions of houses and things. You can come up with a better plan for us than a gravel parking lot. So come back to us and let us know what your thoughts are, and then we can go from there.
so I have a motion to table. Do I have a second on the motion to table? Again, do I have a second for motion to table? Motion fails. Do I have a motion, another motion? Do we have another motion for Salt Creek Phase 2?
Can we put a timeline on the motion for St. Joe to come back to us and tell us what they'll do, other than?
Yeah, that's what I spoke of, December. They're gonna have their plans ready for us.
Chris, how can we do this, man? We all butt heads up here, really. Tell me what about it, Clint? How can we put this in writing on words that we get a parking lot and you get this passed?
That's the motion. That's what I'm asking for. I'm asking for a motion. You either deny, or we've already concluded that the tabling's not gonna work.
Deny approval with conditions.
Denial, approval, or approval with conditions.
We've already denied it once, so I think we need to make a motion to amend.
We can still deny. We got the motion to deny, or, so y'all, I need to have some type of motion, either denial, approval with conditions.
Make a motion, we approve this with conditions. Now, how we list those conditions would be to have the parking lot built prior to going vertical on phase 2.
The parking lot in phase 1.
Final plat, is that what you said?
Yeah, the parking lot finished, it was supposed to be done in phase 1. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah.
The south side.
South side
parking would be complete before
going vertical on the
phase
second
2.
phase.
And that they're coming back in December with
plans.
the plans. So
For the plans, other than a parking lot.
with the plans for the parking lot. In other words, telling us how many parking spots they're gonna be, exactly what that's gonna look like, exactly where that's gonna be placed based on their survey.
Okay, so we're supposed to already be getting a parking lot with phase 1. And that
It didn't happen. That was the previous council. That didn't happen. We had the opportunity now as the new council to make sure that things happen better and with timelines.
Where does it say that phase 1 had a parking lot at the beginning? I must be missing it. I see phase 15 has a parking lot.
I was gonna say, hang on. Okay,
Phase 15.
Number 5 on page 2, it doesn't say phase 1, but this is under the PUD, the beginning of the PUD. And that was, they didn't put a date on here.
Phase 15.
No, this is on page 2. No, up here, number 5. Beach access south on 98, unpaid temporary parking lot. They didn't put any dates or anything.
Or phase.
That was the hotel. You need to go back to your original plat where all this started 5 years ago. That was the hotel, and they were going to put 30-something parking spots at the end of Canal Parkway, next to the canal where the hotel was. That's what that is all about. Has nothing to do with this. You guys need to go back. None of you were here when this happened. I was at every one of these meetings. That's what that was about. You need to go back and re-look at everything.
So, again, I'm at the motion, either motion deny, approve, we can even try a table again, that's up to you.
You made a motion.
Let's try it one more time.
Try it one more time, thank you.
Temporary parking lot.
Yeah, temporary.
Going vertical.
Okay, we're gonna try this again.
All right, I make a motion that we approve the St. Joe Salt Creek Phase 2 with conditions. And those conditions would be to add on the south side parking lot prior to and before final plat approval and going vertical.
We
Do
can't
you
go
wanna-
vertical.
Do you want to give them a timeline to have us the plan?
Oh, they're gonna have that by 2023.
Go.
December 23rd or something,
Yeah,
they said.
they've already said that.
Okay.
Would you also like to add permanent parking lot? Because here it says temporary parking lot. So does that mean it can be taken away from us so they can build something on it one day? You might want to add the word permanent. Just a thought. Don't assume anything.
Gravel's not permanent.
Well, right here it says temporary gravel parking lot. So just the word temporary says, to me, gravel, get rid of the gravel, they can build something.
They're gonna build something on it.
And take the parking lot away?
No, they're gonna they're gonna have so they're gonna have a commercial area and they're gonna have a permanent parking lot when that comes, but that's way down the road.
I second that motion.
Okay, we got a second on the motion to approve Salt Creek Phase 2 with conditions of a parking lot on the south side prior to going vertical
Final plat.
and final plat approval. Do I have a second? So I need Tammy, thank you, to call the roll, please.
Okay. Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Welly?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton? No.
Okay. So now we're down to, thank you for all the discussion, both in the audience and at the table. Discussion of items, projects for state appropriations process. It was brought to my attention recently from Senator, no, I get them mixed up, Representative Britt, no, Representative Jay Trumbull's office, that it's coming up for state appropriations that we can put in for things that we want to get. They have millions of dollars to appropriate to different cities for different projects. And I think Chris told me that we have one started, or have we got it in?
I've already submitted it to both the House and the Senate.
Okay, so he's submitted to the House and the Senate for
the pier.
For the pier. To have extra funds for the pier. We can submit more than one thing. So we got till November 5th to submit if we want to put anything else. Any other appropriations that y'all feel we need in our city that may be, like last time we had the fire truck and the bridge, walking bridge. And we did finally get both of those. It took a while. Went through 2 appropriations, I believe. So, what did we ask for in that appropriation, Chris? Because I hadn't seen that. The appropriation for the pier?
Yes, we asked for additional money because FEMA's only going to replace the pier length that existed, 856 feet approximately. And so that's not going to get us out in deep enough water for adequate fishing. And so I requested additional money through the appropriations process to extend the pier on further out in order to get it deeper and have a better, nicer pier, obviously, which would be a big draw for our city.
What was the funding?
10 mil.
10 million?
Just 10,
Just 10
and it does need, I agree with you, it's got to be past the second sandbar.
Yeah. Do any of y'all feel like we need to put something else out there for another appropriation before the 5th for our deadline?
Maybe some beach parking.
Adrian got one. Okay.
So you wait this. I'm not there to discuss it here. I'm dead serious. I'll bring you a list.
Okay, so the one thing I was looking at, I'm thinking like, what did our city do? Before the storm, we had bathrooms up on 8th Street. We also had, and nothing's been done with our parks. We got the canal, parkway, the canal, when we got the boat ramps, we've got Sunset, but we've got 2 other parks that pretty much have been ignored. And I think we might want to put in appropriations for our parks to be
real bathrooms.
Real bathrooms, and do you know, Chris, by chance, from passing down from the previous, if what's happened with the exercise equipment thing that under the pond?
We're currently working on that issue. We're waiting for the company that's going to install the pole barn for the pavilion. We're waiting for them to invoice us for the 20% down that we have to pay them in order to get them to start work. And then once that is completed, then there'll be an 80% payment, remaining that we'll pay once it's complete. As far as the playground and exercise equipment, we're finalizing that right now, trying to pick out what equipment that we want. And the design is going to change just in order to save money to make sure we have enough funds for both the concrete pad and the exercise equipment. But we're actively working on that right now.
That one's appropriate. So would we appropriate funds for our Parker Park.
Yeah.
Parker Park. I know we're gonna do playground, it's been, Bay County has gave us money for that, but there's other things we want. I seen a beautiful pavilion type thing. It's like a cover, like a stage, and they had it covered with this white, I mean, I got pictures of it. I think that would be something we could, a permanent stage.
Like an amphitheater?
Yeah, it's like an amphitheater, but they had picnic tables under it, but when we went to the concert, they had moved their picnic tables and had the concert under it, you know, the band under it. So it's something that could be multiple use even.
What do we currently have out there for FERDAP grants? Do we have any right now?
That's what this is been.
That's just okay, yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay, so, do we want to see if Kristen would put us in for appropriations for,
I want to see Lisa's list too. I'm curious to see what's on it because.
well, we have only to November 5th to get something out there, so we need to.
You're not gonna have another meeting.
You'll have it by the end of the week.
So, but we need to discuss it.
Oh, that's right.
I mean, we can come back to, we could do a special meeting, like 15-minute, 30-minute meeting for us to talk about anything we want to.
Be here tomorrow.
Is it better?
Yeah, we'll be here tomorrow.
Is it
Yeah,
better
we
to
could do that.
submit?
Add it to tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's agenda.
We can do that.
Better to submit a lot or prioritize ourselves?
I would think, this is what I was getting from them. Ask for the moon and settle, ask for the moon and settle for the stars or whatever.
They're hard to get. I mean, we've
Yeah.
tried repeatedly and we just got 2 and that was rare. So that's
Yeah,
why.
so if you put more than one in, your likelihood would probably be that you might get one of them.
It's the spaghetti on the wall.
Yeah.
Throw it
So
all
let's
out
throw it all
and see
out there and
what
see what we get. And I didn't want to miss this opportunity for the city to give appropriations for more, you know, we might not get 10 million for the pier, but maybe we could get a few $100,000 for the park.
You won't get what you
Veterans.
what you don't ask for.
Exactly.
But, Mayor, if I may.
Yes, sir.
We put in for the bridge and for the fire truck, not twice,
Twice,
exactly.
yeah.
The first time, we got taken at the veto stage. And obviously then we kind of went back and said, boy, why did you do that to us? We really need these things, and we got them second time then.
Right.
So as long as they're important, and you can keep them in there for as long as possible, if you get kicked out, you've got a chance to come back. But if you put in a little bit too much, and you know, a lot of them are going to get dumped before you get the veto stage. So pick the 2 or 3, in my humble opinion, pick the 2 or 3 best ideas we can come up with. The pier being a massive
Pier
one,
being
we all want.
massive.
You know, yes, recreation is another part, as is pier. But, you know, don't do 10 or 15
No,
because you're just.
I'm
they're not even
thinking
gonna
one
get the
other
veto
one.
stage.
I'm thinking one other one. Just go with 2 really good projects that are very important to our city and our citizens and move forward with those. And then, you know, if we get one of them this time, then next year maybe we appropriate the second one and another one. So you want, we're gonna, this was just a discussion. We can table this and discuss it tomorrow. If Lisa wants to bring us a list, and other people bring your ideas tomorrow evening. Okay? All right. Then we have discussion for FDOT 16th Street easement. And I think it's Chris?
Yes.
Okay.
FDOT is going to be doing a lot of work on Highway 98 over the next few years. As part of that preparation for that project and everything that they're going to be doing along 98, they want to install a stormwater drainage system on 16th Street to correct the problems there and carry water away from 98 back to the old canal system. We would still own the right-of-way on 16th Street. We would just give them a perpetual easement, and they would come in and maintain that and maintain the stormwater system that they're going to put in, and the stormwater system at the outfall is going to include a large, box culvert, and they'll also maintain that. So it's not going to cost the city anything. We're just giving them permission to come in and do all this work, and they're going to maintain it in perpetuity.
Can we beg them to include the catch box by Gulfview Motel?
I
Just
beg them,
get that water out of there.
I beg them to include all of our streets. I'd be happy to turn everything over to them and maintain it.
Oh, it's terrible, it just pools.
I was just getting ready to ask, was this gonna help anything for the hotel at all?
It won't help the hotel this time, but that problem will be corrected as they begin to work on Highway 98.
Yeah. Okay.
The same bit.
It's terrible.
Yep. All right.
And there is, FDOT does have a resolution that they've included that the mayor will have to sign. So if there is a motion, just, if we could approve the agreement as well as the resolution, and we'll have to get that to FDOT.
Okay. Randy, you got anything about this?
Sounds like a good idea to me.
Second.
Anything else?
Third.
Good? Okay. So, yeah, his
So do we
stomach's
need-
been growling up here just
You
FYI.
gonna feed me the next time we have to.
You know, I actually started to bring you
I
something.
think we just, the resolution is
So-
giving the mayor the power to
Yeah.
execute.
So we don't have to
perpetual
read it.
easement.
No.
No, you don't have to read it, but we do need a number for this resolution, like,
What's the next one?
yeah.
2023 dash.
Have a number, we put a number.
And there is a spot there for consideration shall be, there's $1.
Okay.
You know,
So,
normally it's $10, yeah.
$1, yeah.
So can we make the motion without the number and have it added later, or do we need to read it with the number?
If she could find the number, we could
What's
say
wrong
it.
with PE 14? At the very top.
Because we have our
Because we have
resolution, that's how we keep track.
I can't get on the network.
Yeah, just a motion to adopt the resolution, the clerk will assign it the appropriate number.
I will entertain a motion now to help FDOT 16th Street.
Make a motion for the FDOT perpetual easement request and assignment of the ordinance number.
Resolution.
Make a motion to approve resolution, the resolution for the perpetual easement, the clerk will assign a number, the appropriate number.
Okay?
I'll second that.
Point of order, please. Shh. We're trying to do business here. Okay, she can't hear us, but what do you?
Okay, you might repeat all you just said, because I couldn't hear anything because of the chatter back here.
We haven't,
Make a motion to approve the FDOT perpetual easement request
Resolution.
resolution.
And instruct the
And
clerk to
instruct the
sign it.
clerk to add a number at a later date.
I'll second. There we go.
second, got first, Pam Conroe.
Who's second? Who's Miss Hamilton? She did. Okay. Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Lilly?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Okay. Great meeting, I appreciate it. Okay, next on there, citizens' comments. Anybody have any comments? Close out. And I want to talk about that too.
Maureen Hardwick, 37th Street, and I want to address the request that, for citizens' comments, that you have to state your name and address. It hasn't been consistent at all. I mean, majority of Mexico Beach residents will come up here and state their name and address, and I have no problem with my name, but I have observed non-residents, you have allowed non-residents, Port St. Joe, Bay County, come up here and they don't have to give their address. So I called the state and there's not a requirement to give your address. We're live on Facebook. In this day and age, I really don't even think that's a good practice. But the state said maybe the city has a requirement. So my question is do we and why do we have to state our address?
It is in
I think it's in,
17, or 2017.
it's a resolution, it's a resolution
It's a
that sets forth how the meeting's gonna operate.
And that's 2017, I got it.
Dash 07.
Dash 07. Yeah,
Well, either reconsider it,
I think,
or it needs to be consistent, because not everybody follows that.
I think we need to rewrite that resolution entirely.
I would
but-
agree. But that's my
So-
thought.
thank you. And we'll bring this, let's put this, to look at this resolution, 1707 in the future, in a future meeting. We'll come back and discuss it. All right. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Alex Hogan on 7th Street. I just want to commend the council on the format you've changed, going right into business instead of going with comments from the group. We get rid of business, then the other people can get up here and do what they want to say. If you don't want to hear what they want to say, you walk out. So I applaud your change in your format. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we addressed a lot of the things that do come
Yeah.
up in our meetings that would have,
That
we
was-
just wait.
Yeah, I agree. And I need to come to the table with this. Do we want to keep we'll talk about the change, but for future meetings, do we want to put the mayor's comments, the citizens' comments, and the council comments all at the end of our meetings? We have the right to do that. Of course, we will have the right to do that in that the resolution when we change it.
I think the
as well.
current resolution's written that it
Yeah, it's
goes
got-
mayor, council, citizens, and
Yeah.
council never
Council
moved up
never
there.
does that, yeah.
So I don't,
Exactly. So we have the right to go on and decide as a council that for right now, we want to move it to there, and then we'll look at the resolution and make other changes in it as well at a later
I think the
date.
council comments, I mean, we need that before we vote on something, we need to kind of.
Oh, that's always
Okay,
on, that's
okay,
always
okay.
on that. This is just like at the end, like I would
General
say.
comment.
Yeah, all the general comments, the citizens come up, they can, or we can say our part, because y'all may have something to say after us that is relevant to what we've said, I think. So that's all I want to ask is can we, for all future, move citizens, mayor, and council comments to the end of today, of the meeting?
let's revise that resolution. There's other things in there that need to look to.
Yeah, we're going to still do that. Are y'all okay for now on until we get the resolution fixed?
We just have so much business on
We
here
do.
right now that
We
it's
do.
important.
I think it is. And I think it gives them opportunity to hear us discuss things that they may want to come up at the end and talk about.
Good.
So we're good? Okay. Tammy, we're good on that.
Mr. Latham?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
I'm sorry.
You just come up, we changed it yet. Julie Gardner, 111 20th Street. Employee luncheon for the fall is at our house again, November the 8th. Chris, I think y'all are putting out a flyer or something, I don't know. Most people have reached out that want to, anybody that wants to can. We're easy to find, you can drop it in my mailbox if you want to leave something. We have 2 refrigerators at our house, and we have 3 or 4 if you need to drop it off before then. David Rich is bringing his cooker and cooking chicken and ribs again, so.
So you just need sides?
Whatever anybody wants to do.
Okay. Well, you're having me.
Oh, and we have drinks. The Methodist Church is providing drinks, and Rock has already ordered paper goods, I'm sure, because he's on time.
And cups.
And cups.
And cups.
So.
And plastic goods.
And, yes, Rock has me covered on that, so, and if we don't want y'all to do anything, we have people that are setting up tables and getting tables that morning, so just like last time, y'all don't worry about anything, we got it.
If you want to drop something off in Julie's mailbox, do not do it when the mail lady is there. Because you come in and put a stamp on it.
Don't do that.
Thanks, Julie. Thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, yeah, we enjoy it, we enjoy it. We like to cook.
You do a great job, too.
I like to eat.
You just need to not have it on a Wednesday sometime, because I really like to be there, and I work Wednesdays until after lunch.
Well, Tuesdays and Thursdays are meetings,
Yeah.
and Mondays and Fridays,
Everybody wants to go out of town, that's right. Okay, thank you, we appreciate it. Okay, so, staff, Mr. Chris.
All right, over the last couple of weeks, we've had some good news at the city. We've had some employees that have done some great things. Garrett Garland, who works in our water and sewer utility department, he passed his Class C water certification, and right now we're waiting for the state to approve his license. That was the first time he tested, so it was very impressive, and we're very, very happy with him doing that. Secondly, we had two firefighters, Ryan Gallagher and Sean McGann, who were both promoted last week to engineer EMTs. So again, all three of these employees, it's huge accomplishments for them, but it's also, you know, huge assets for our city. It's impressive. So shout out to all those guys. The next thing is the Bay County Tax Collector's Office will be at City Hall on November the 7th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Anyone is able to stop by, talk to the tax assessor or the tax collector if you have any questions, or if you want to pay your property taxes while you're there, you can do that also. And, nothing
we're all gonna
y'all paying your taxes.
The earlier you do it, you know. Okay.
Couple things for the council is there's going to be some future agenda items you need to be aware of and thinking about between now and the November 14th meeting. Ordinance number 739 and 775 eliminated the Planning and Zoning Board City Council reviews for commercial development orders. Those are expiring, so you need to decide if you want to extend that out, you know, keep waiving the Planning and Zoning Board of City Council reviews to try to encourage more businesses to come into town. Obviously, they've got to build back, you know, similar to what was there pre-storm. If not, then they'll just expire and we'll go back to the way we operated, you know, before Hurricane Michael. So that's something to be thinking about. Also, the November 28th and December 26th city council meetings. Those are normally interrupted or canceled due to the Thanksgiving and Christmas holiday. We just need to be thinking about what we're going to do with those, whether we're going to hold them, cancel them, or move them. So,
what was the second date on that? December what?
December 26th, the day after Christmas.
Yeah. We will probably definitely cancel that one.
And the other one is how many days before Thanksgiving?
Like 3 days, 2 days?
2 days.
Yeah. So after.
What did we do last year? We canceled them both, right?
I mean, I wasn't here
I
last
think we
year.
had December, November's, but we didn't have December's. We could always move November's up a week and just have 2 back-to-back weeks. And then we could cancel December. I just don't know.
Late December is impossible to do anything.
Thanksgiving was always difficult for them, you know, speaking from 10 years ago. Because people go out of town for Thanksgiving.
The 28th is actually after Thanksgiving. The 21st is 2 days before. So, I don't know if that matters to anybody, but it's the weekend after. It's the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. So I don't know who's back from wherever they go.
You said 2 days after.
It's
I'm
after.
going out of town for Thanksgiving, I know.
Thanksgiving's the 23rd.
It's the 23rd, and that's 5 days after, right?
5 days after?
Yeah.
Night, I can guarantee.
Well, do you think we'll have a forum? You'll be here, you'll be here.
I don't know.
Quorum, excuse me.
You're talking about the 28th, right?
Yeah, 28th.
I could be gone.
Everybody check the calendars and we'll check it back tomorrow.
Let's do that. Everybody look at your calendars and let's decide
Got a
on the
meeting tomorrow.
14th.
Got a meeting tomorrow.
December 26th, I know for sure is a no.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving Day is a if for me, so I'm gonna just say no.
I think if we're gonna cancel the December meeting, we need to have our November meetings. Otherwise, we're gonna get things way behind, and we've already gotten way behind, and we've had to have 2 meetings back to back because of it. So let's talk about that maybe on the 14th. That'd give you, everybody should know tomorrow the 14th, what we want to do about November's. Tomorrow the 14th. Y'all will come back tomorrow now?
I'm good on the 28th. I know that already. So the 26th, I know.
28th is
26th, you're what?
Christmas, I'm not good. The 20th of November, I'm here.
Okay, I'm here.
I'll be here.
You're here. So we'll have a quorum, whether Rich or, okay. All right, so let's just keep the November meetings and cancel the December 26th meeting.
Chris, did you want to discuss this law about enforcement?
Yes, I was saving it for last.
November from the 21st to 28th.
No, it is the
No, it's
28th already.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
28, yep. So November
Middle
be
week.
unchanged, December only be canceling the one after Christmas Day. Okay?
Lastly, I emailed the city council, the law enforcement service agreement from Bay County Sheriff's Office this morning. The sheriff contacted me yesterday, stated it was an oversight on Bay County's part that they did not send this agreement over to us during the budget workshop process. But you have it, they've gone up in price 5%, they do that every year. They've got 6 deputies, 1 supervisor who are assigned here. The total amount of the contract is $1,017,107. And obviously, this is a budgeted item. We're not gonna, tell the sheriff's office we're not paying them.
But the budget was not that much, it's not
$938,263. There's a difference of $78,844.
Okay.
We'll absorb that. We can find that money in our budget.
Okay.
Is that another deputy?
No, there is discussion about putting another deputy out here for half of the year, and that would be an additional $50,000 if that was to happen.
After April, you'll tell you, April.
Yeah, and also there was a typographical error on the front page of the contract I emailed out this morning between the number of deputies. It said 5 and in parentheses it was 6.
Yeah,
But
I was gonna point that out.
Yeah, I got with the sheriff's office and they corrected the
Okay.
contract after that point, and so it is 6 deputies.
So,
Is there a way to beef up the police protection during the summer and then kind of taper it off during off-season? So we would be hiring and firing, but maybe have the deputies, that are the additional deputies during the summer, they could be reassigned someplace else in Bay County, might help the budget.
Well, whenever we get the additional deputy for half the year, I don't think they fire him at the end of that time. They
reassign.
Yeah, they go somewhere else. Now, talking to the sheriff yesterday, ultimately his goal is to have 8 full-time deputies here in Mexico Beach, and that way they'll have 2 officers per shift for officer safety.
We just don't need the same protection off-season as we do with the influx of tourists in season.
Rather have the cops and not need them than need them and not have them.
Amen.
okay, so I went back and looked at 2019 when this came in. We had 5 and 1, and we were paying $641,667. We paid an upfront cost of $190,000. That was 2020. They went up 2020 to 2021, 2021 to 2022. We still have 5 and 1. We paid $7,771 and $7,700. Lord, I'll get it right in a minute. 771,750. Okay. Plus, then we added in April another $50,000. That brought us up to $820,750. And now we're going up to over $1 million. And we budgeted for $938. So we've had a 37% increase in that 3 years. That's a lot.
Well, prices have gone up obviously on everything, equipment. And talking to the sheriff, we've got the 6 deputies and the 1 supervisor. And if you average out their payroll, their benefits, just that, none of the equipment, vehicles, or anything else, it averages out over $100,000 per person. So you got $700,000 there, or over $700,000 just in personnel costs before you even get involved in the equipment. So that's obviously personnel in any business is your number 1 expense. So.
Do we need to approve it today, or can we look at it?
The sheriff cannot receive a draw from Bay County and get paid for the service he's providing Mexico Beach until we sign this and get it back over to him. So he would like to have it pretty soon.
Can we look at it tonight and discuss it, Michelle? Yes, ma'am.
If I'm not mistaken, when we switched to the sheriff's office, Sheriff Ford agreed to work with us that first year for what we would have paid the police department, telling us at that time that it would be a significant jump the following year, and there would be a 5% increase every year after that. So that first year is sort of an anomaly.
So basically, we went up 20% from 2022 to now.
So that's 5% a year.
Man, that's half.
Because then you're adding another person.
A man, that's half. We got half.
So I was just looking at it, just wanted, for it to be, so you see what we're getting and what we're paying. And then that 6.5%. Go ahead.
What do we need to do?
We're gonna sign the
We
contract.
need to make a motion to do that, or?
Motion to approve.
We just gotta say that we wanna go and sign this contract.
I'll make a motion to approve the sheriff's office contract for 23-24.
I'll second it.
All right, Tammy?
Mayor Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Welly,
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton,
Yes.
Mr. Wolf,
Yes.
and Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Our upcoming, sorry,
Hold on.
I don't have any.
hang on. Chris, did you have anything else? I'm sorry.
No, ma'am.
I have
Okay,
a question for you.
go ahead.
Charter. Did I hear correctly that the charter review is complete?
No.
No, okay.
We are meeting Thursday to kind of finalize it, then we have a workshop scheduled after that. Then it's coming, after the workshop, then we're gonna put it in final form, our recommendations, then it's coming to you guys.
Can't go on vacation. Game of telephone gets me. Sorry.
All right. Chris, did you, Mr. McDaniel, do you have anything else?
That's it.
You look nothing like Chris, by the way. Okay, Linda? Jerry?
I don't think I'm gonna.
Adrian, anything?
I've got one. I will not be here tomorrow. I have a Wednesday night engagement that you guys know of. And if I walk in late, I'm sorry. I will try and get here if it's done fast enough. I'm not being rude, but if you see me roll in and you guys are still meeting, I'll be here, but I will not be here unless you go late.
Okay.
The only thing I got is, Chris, we need to do something about these beach mats. Figure out what we're gonna do. They're sitting there, doing nothing.
Permits. Still got, we.
Whatever we gotta do, we gotta make a decision to do it. We have all the material.
Not that here.
All right, so I have nothing, so I'm gonna move to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
We got it.